Greetings, B-movie aficionados.
Hello, welcome to a very colorful episode of Couple of Flicks. I'm Tristan.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Zach.
And, you know, for those at home who can't see, we'll try to make this a verbally colorful episode too, but not too colorful.
Yeah, if you are listening, I am green.
Yeah.
Yep. Very night vision-y.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So so today we're going to discuss some 90s films. But before we do that, have either of you watched anything lately that you'd like to talk about or bring up?
I just watched Vengeance, BJ Novak's new movie.
Did you like it?
Yeah, it was really good.
Ooh, I want to see. It looks good.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it to be that great. I was expecting like more Office kind of humor and stuff because it's BJ Novak, but yeah, it was a pretty decent little murder mystery.
Yeah, I was actually I didn't find out about it until literally just today, actually. So
yeah, I think it just went to Peacock for streaming, so
yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Well, yeah, I'll probably check it out.
yeah.
I think I have like a trial for that going on for the moment. I don't remember.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they got a bunch of stuff from theaters going in like a couple weeks after it stops going to theaters. It's on Peacock.
No, huh?
Nice.
Interesting.
Cool.
New Jurassic World's on there. I heard that was garbage though.
Yeah. Yeah. I heard it was too. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't built up the nerve to watch that one because I don't know. I love the old school Jurassic Park movies so much. I just
Yeah.
can't stand to see it destroyed before my eyes.
Yeah. I didn't watch any of the new ones, any of the Pratt ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw Jurassic World, you know, it was okay. It was like, yeah.
I saw the first two. They just progressively got worse. Take them or leave them. Yeah.
I'll leave them. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dominion, like, or no, not Dominion. What's the second one called? The Fallen
Kingdom.
Fallen Kingdom. There you go. I don't even remember if I watched that one or not. Like, I kind of feel like I have, but I don't remember it.
Yeah, they kind of like blend together. I'm not remembering which plot goes to which movie, or if there is a different plot.
Yeah. All I know is that Bryce Dallas Howard keeps running around the stupid dinosaur jungle in high heels. Can't do it. What about you, Nick? Anything interesting? Or?
I saw a Ghost Story not too long, a couple days ago. It was pretty fun.
Cool. Yeah.
I like that. Did you guys see it?
I still haven't seen that one.
Is that the Casey Affleck movie?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I did see. I saw that in the theater actually.
Oh shit! Nice. That's cool.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. It was really well done.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting.
Yeah, like it was definitely downbeat, but in a good way. You know, like it kind of let you know, like pretty much right at the beginning, how downbeat it was going to be, and then it just kind of went with it. I was glad.
Yep, one of those fancy 4x3 movies.
Yeah,
I was a little skeptical by the I don't know what they call it, like the curved, because it's not just 4x3, it also has the curved whatever edges too. So I'm like, uh-oh. But it worked, so it worked really well. Because you know, it's like a ghost story, and sometimes like it's like, you know, panning around the hall or the room or whatever, and you know that he's off screen just watching, being a ghost. But since it's in 4:3, you still just get that vibe of just, watching the main character, like the wife, but knowing that there's a ghost off to the side, off screen, off presence. So it gave that nice little vibe with the 4:3.
Yeah, it made you feel very removed from the dimension of the film, which is that it was the vibe they were going for, because he was kind of removed from their dimensions too. So, like you said, it kind of felt like it was from his POV. So,
and I liked how there were a lot of long shots in the beginning of the movie that were just randomly, it would hold on to just random stuff for so long.
Yeah, that was cool. Like, and it always helps to do that, like in a movie, especially like that, where you just kind of get soaked in the atmosphere and just the stillness of everything. And since the film kind of takes place over a pretty significant portion of time,
Yeah,
yeah,
I'd say
it
so.
makes you kind of it sort of makes you feel those transitions a lot more heavily, because like 1 minute you'll be in a room for like literally 10 minutes or something like that, or 15 minutes or something, just a quiet room, and then a shot later suddenly you'll be years later. It's like, whoa.
Yeah, and the famous pie eating scene.
Oh, I love that scene.
So funny.
Everybody always talks shit about it though.
Yeah, I thought it was great.
Yeah, I thought it was the best scene in the movie. I was like,
Yeah, I was like, damn. Because it's just a one take pie eating, and you're like, okay, that's impressive.
Oh man, yeah, it was pretty. I was surprised. I didn't expect the pie eating aspect of it to be so explicit. Like, I thought it was kind of going to be like more at a distance, and it sort of was, but it also like sort of wasn't. Like, I don't know. It was definitely, eating that pie.
Yeah.
The one thing about that movie, though, I didn't expect, because I knew it was going to be about Casey Affleck floating around as a ghost and stuff. I didn't expect him to die so fast.
Oh yeah, right. It just came out of nowhere, like right in front of his house too.
Yeah, like I thought it was going to actually build up to that more. But instead, it actually happened like kind of right at the start of the movie, like almost in the, like not exactly in the first scene, but it felt like it was like within the first like 5 or 10 minutes or something. I don't know, it just felt like it happened really fast, but maybe that was just like expectation versus like experience type of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yep. One thing I also wanted to mention, if you guys haven't seen it, is The Rehearsal from HBO.
I want to see that really bad, actually.
It's really good. Nathan Fielder, if you know him.
Yeah.
Nathan For You. He went to one of Canada's top business schools with really good grades.
Oh my God. And it's hard to that's kind of a hard thing to recommend. It's a hard sell, but I don't know, everybody I know really loves it. So
it's really interesting, especially I think because you said you like Synecdoche, New York.
Yeah,
it has it's like a reality TV version of that, more or less. There's even like sets built inside warehouses, and it just goes deep into a confusing wormhole of intricate plot and self-insertion.
Yeah, no, that's great. Yeah, I love high concepts. Any high concept like that whatsoever, I'm just like on board for.
Yeah, and at first, because I don't know if it was initially supposed to be that, because I heard COVID messed it up, because the very first episode is just a simple one-off setup, which is of the series, which is what it's supposedly is. You get to rehearse a life event, is his take, and he will build a set, hire actors, hire everything to rehearse. And like the first guy wanted to come out to his his like bar trivia group, that he actually doesn't have a master's degree, So Nathan went out, built like this crazy set down to the fine details of like these chairs inside the actual bar were ripped in specific ways. So he, made chairs that were ripped in the exact same ways and just like to every fine detail. But I think COVID messed it up because that's the only one that's like encapsulated, because the rest of the season takes place over another longer rehearsal with sprinkled in with a couple other smaller ones that just didn't
Okay.
necessarily pan out, but it's crazy wild.
Yeah.
Really
It
good.
sounds potentially pretty like pretty different actually from a lot of that kind of stuff. Just because like a lot of shows like that tend to have like other people sort of managing it, and this seems a little bit more self-directed, I guess you could say,
Mhm.
or
And you
yeah.
And you do know he is definitely self-directing it, and obviously, like he doesn't like he's basically proclaims he's a master manipulator, not himself, but like
Right.
indirectly, like characters will call him. He's a manipulator. He's a liar, but of course, he's the one editing and directing, and so he's leaving that in for a reason, letting them know, yeah, that's me. I am doing all of this. Like I am fucked up, but it's for a point, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that sounds great.
Yeah, and it's only like 6 episodes, 30 minutes long, maybe a little over 3 hours. So it's
Yeah, it's not much
I
of a
binged it in a day, and it was great.
Yeah,
Highly recommend The Rehearsal. Nathan Fielder.
excellent. I'm looking forward to checking it out.
Yeah, sounds interesting.
I watched a bunch of stuff recently, but the absolute most recent thing I watched was that new 10 episode Dahmer series, so on Netflix, about
that a-
Jeffrey Dahmer.
Documentary or
It's Evan Peters, I think that's his name, from
Yeah.
X-Men or whatever. Yeah,
Quicksilver?
yeah, he plays the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer, and
No, I like him.
Yeah.
Not Dahmer. Evan Peters.
Oh yeah, no. Nobody likes Jeffrey Dahmer, but no, he does a good job though playing the role. It's a good series. I don't know if it really needed to be 10 episodes. Seems a little overkill for a serial killer series. I guess, but I don't know. I guess I don't really know what they could have taken out of it. I mean, it was a little bit slow at times, but I didn't really mind that. So I guess I just need to sort of accept that every series is going to be really long, like no matter if it needs to be or not. So, but the extra length did give it like a good. It did give it like enough time to sort of explore more aspects of the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing. Like, it's a lot less focused on the murder serial killing aspect and much more focused on like the actual. It's more of like a character study piece, although it's more true to life. And it also sort of touches on some of the like more, I guess, I don't know, some of the more interesting aspects of his of the whole crime, like the police incompetence aspect is like depicted pretty bluntly, I would say, in this, like to the point where it's like it's kind of like, wow, like that's really infuriating just to think how like mismanaged and underfunded like some police, and also just like the fact that the victims were like minorities, which obviously had a lot to do with the police kind of taking choosing their priorities and all that stuff. It's a sad, interesting sort of thing to watch and think about, but like I said, 10 episodes, it's draining. So
yeah, Netflix either is too long or too short for their
Yeah.
seasons series.
Yeah, pretty much. And there's some good direction.
Except for
though.
Stranger Things, they get the perfect amount of time because it's their cash
They get
cow.
a free pass. Yeah. There's some good directing though. Like I think Jennifer Lynch, David Lynch's daughter, like I think she directed like 4 different episodes.
Oh, wow.
And then Greg Araki, the guy who did like Doom Generation and Mysterious Skin and movies like that, he did an episode. Yeah, like it's good.
Netflix Tangential. I watched the Ouija prequel
Oh, nice.
from
Cool.
Mike Flanagan. He does like the
Yeah.
Haunted Hills. It was good. It was good.
Yeah,
I didn't
he's
I didn't watch the first one, but I watched that one because of him. And it was good. Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Actually, I think I know. Oh, what?
I was gonna say the Ouija movies are usually shitty, is what I've heard, but
Yeah, that one's a special case. They just
Yeah.
let him have it and do whatever he wanted with it, and barely tied it in like for a prequel, like a post-credit sequence, or more or less is the only way he tied it to the first one.
Actually, believe it or not, most people I know haven't even seen the first one. Like most people I know actually have only seen the second. I think in general, like Mike Flanagan has a pretty hardcore, solidified fan base by this point. You know,
Oh, yeah. Yep, I'm one of them for sure. I love his shit.
yeah, he's established himself really well. Like, and even if his like, I know that like not everybody loves his stuff. Like, not everybody loves Doctor
Yeah.
Sleep.
Because it's
Stuff like
slow, character-driven stuff he does. Like,
Yeah, and I admittedly I had I had a tough time with Gerard's game, but I think that had to do with like the fact that I read the book and I was more familiar with that, and I had certain expectations that just couldn't realistically be met, more than likely. So like I probably would like that more if I rewatched it. But yeah, I've liked generally everything he's done. So I would watch a movie about a Ouija board if he directed it.
yeah, it was cool. Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of, I guess, well, I mean, not really speaking of serial killers anymore, but I was about to say speaking of serial killers.
Oops.
Yeah, but no, it's fine. I guess we should probably talk about the movies that we chose now, and so I'm gonna go ahead and talk about mine first. Gotta clear my throat for this one. So I chose the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, also known as The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And
TNG, not the Star Trek.
The Next Generation. I guess it was filmed in 1994, but wasn't released until 1997, is my understanding.
Oh, I thought it was 95, but maybe I'm just misremembering. I don't know though. Like,
You're
Yeah,
probably
there's-
right.
on the Wikipedia, there's a couple release dates. It's like 2 for 95 and 1 for 97. So I don't know.
Yeah. I think it was released in 1995, like theatrically. I think that's what it was. I think it was filmed in 94, released in 95, because I guess there were some behind the scenes troubles. And then
I can see why.
And then again in 97.
Yeah,
Probably with a retitle or something.
probably.
I don't know.
There's
What
number
are
of-
the titles besides Next Generation?
The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the other title that I'm familiar with.
Yeah.
Although when it was on HBO, I think it was just called Texas Chainsaw Massacre 4. Like, I don't even think I think they were just lazy with it. We're just like, it's the 4th one. We'll just leave it at that. So, but
This was a
anyway.
fucking bizarre movie. Yeah.
yeah. Interestingly enough, other than the first one, this is the one I've seen the most of all the Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies. So, and it more or less happens to have to do with the fact that it was on HBO a lot. And sometimes, like, it was late at night and I'm flipping through channels and nothing better is on. So I'm like, all right, I'll watch this again. And then as I'm watching it, I remember, oh, wait a minute, this is the best thing that was on.
It's funny shit. This was a hard watch.
Yeah.
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 When I first watched this years ago, I remember liking it, and man, it's like complete opposite this time.
Yeah. I mean, I've never really liked this movie, but I think I'm starting to like. I think like this movie's starting to have the opposite effect on me. Like I think it's actually starting to sort of work on me a little bit more and more. Although I still have big, like major problems with the ending. I mean, I think any sane person who watched this movie would have problems with the ending personally, but we'll get to that though. I guess I'll just go into the plot. So the movie starts off on prom night, and the main our hero is, what's her name? I think it was Jenny.
Yeah.
And she's played by Reese with. I knew I was gonna do that. Renee Zellweger. Sorry.
Yeah.
And I get so. All right. This is where I'm already gonna sort of throw a confusing curveball, because there's two different versions of this movie, and in the longer version, there's a longer intro scene where, so at the beginning of the movie, she's like putting on lipstick in her mirror and like getting dressed for the prom, right? And you can sort of faintly hear arguing behind her, just kind of muffled in the background. So in some versions of this movie, the scene it goes on a little bit longer, and like her stepdad busts in and like basically tries to assault her, and so then she leaves and goes to prom, you know. But I think the version that played on HBO though didn't show any of that. So but I sort of can understand why that scene was removed from certain versions, because it's kind of a crappy way to start off a movie. You know, it's like some girl gets abused by her stepdad before prom. It's like that kind of bites.
Yeah, it's ultimately pointless too.
It is, although it does sort of explain a little bit why later on in the movie, she sort of starts taking charge and starts kind of bossing them around a little bit, because that kind of happens out of nowhere. But otherwise, yeah, it probably doesn't really add anything to the movie ultimately. Anyway, getting into the plot. So it takes place on prom night. We get to meet, you know, a nice little group of lovable folks. Although I don't know if lovable is really quite the right word.
Yeah.
How would you? Yeah.
I did not care for any of these characters.
No, they were all dumb. The dialogue was just confusing to me. Like they were just saying weird shit the whole time.
Yeah, this movie had some very unusual writing going on. The responses didn't seem. I don't know. It felt like the characters were kind of talking by each other at times. Like somebody would say something and then they would respond in a way that, like, it was related, but it seemed not quite in response. Like there were a lot of moments like that in this movie where the characters were talking. Like so Jenny has this other friend, Heather, I think her name was.
There is a Heather, but I don't know if that was her friend one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Heather was like the one that was the most strange character that was talking like about weird shit all the time. Like, oh, I wonder what it's like to be murdered.
Yeah,
like, okay, lady, all right, what the fuck?
Yeah, that's the girl I'm thinking of. And like before we even know who she is, like literally before we even know who she is, as a character, she catches her boyfriend cheating on her before we even know who he is too.
Right. Yeah, that was strange as hell, because it's like they make it like everyone knows that it's happening, and it's so he would want to be hiding out further away, but he's just around the corner from her, basically making out with some random girl.
Yeah, it kind of felt like he was trying to be caught.
Yeah.
You know? So they get into an argument, which somehow, I guess, so she like storms up. Actually, no, they don't argue. She storms off. She gets into a car and starts trying to drive away, but eventually she decides to let him in. And then it turns out that Jenny and her boyfriend, who does he even have a line in this? I mean, he doesn't really do anything at all other than get killed. But yeah, her and her boyfriend are in the back seat, presumably smoking marijuana. That's kind of and let's see, the boyfriend girlfriend are arguing. He's talking about how he could get testicular cancer from blue balls, and he constantly talks about how his dad is like a lawyer, police officer, all this other stuff, doctor. Like he's just like basically somebody who is always trying to talk his way out of everything, except the movie is so badly written that he just seems like the most incompetent liar in the world. They're barely driving
for that dialogue. I just wrote sex cancer talk. I was like, what? Like, okay. What the fuck? It's like, yeah, I need to have sex or else I'll get cancer. Some weird shit he was making up, and Renee Zellweger was like, no, that's not true.
Yeah, because like, oh yeah, I remember now, because yeah, his girlfriend was angry at him for cheating on him, and he says, well, it's your fault that I cheated on you because you don't have sex with me, and if you don't have sex with me, I could get testicular cancer and die. And she's like, I don't think that's true. And it's like, my dad's a doctor.
Yeah,
he knows what he's talking about, you know, or I know what I'm talking about, or whatever. He says that a lot.
and his dad's many professions, yeah, throughout.
Yeah, he's just the Renaissance father. They're barely driving for 2 minutes when they get lost.
Right. This
yeah,
was annoying.
yeah. They just they drive down like some dark like area.
Like, how did this high school?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, they may as well. I mean, they were practically within like eye shot of the school or whatever. Like they're kind of driving down a dirt road and they get into a collision, and the guy, you know, stumbles out of the car and collapses. So they split up, which I mean, I guess, you know, in a situation like that, like whatever, but let's see. So okay, so what I don't understand about how they split up was that 3 people went one way and they left Jenny's boyfriend, Mr. No Name, with the guy who collapsed. I don't
fuck, what was the funny part about the guy that died in the crash was he had one line and that was what he was billed as is his name. Like, I'm okay or something, and that was his name in the credits.
His name was okay.
Like, I'm fine, I'm not hurt or something. Like, shit, what was it? I'll look it up real quick.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, like they split up. Jenny and the couple go to some other lady's house, like down the road, at least a couple miles. I think her name was Darla.
Yeah, and she randomly flashed some dudes that drove by.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm not hurt was that guy's name.
Yeah, I'm not hurt. That's funny.
And then he just dies.
Yeah. He just is like, ugh.
He's not hurt. He's just dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess so. Also, by the way, when Trish or whatever her name is, like flashed the guy who threw the bottle out the window, like for some reason that scene always surprises me, because like when you look at the R rating descriptor, it says that the movie's rated R for demented mayhem, torture, and for strong language, but doesn't say anything about brief nudity. So I think that was one that the MPAA missed, you know. So
it is very brief.
It's like super brief. You like barely get the nipple, but it's there.
Yep.
So, which means that this movie gets more than a star from you.
Fuck.
Oh, but so let's see. So Matthew McConaughey shows up at the other guy, who's with the fella who collapsed. And whether he's dead or not, Matthew McConaughey makes sure to break his neck to be sure.
And this is so I just want to touch on Matthew McConaughey as well. Like, this is one of his next biggest role, right after Dazed and Confused, right?
I think so.
So he's still a new kid on the block.
Yeah, pretty much. Unless
Right.
you count the small role that he had in My Boyfriend's Back.
Yeah.
You know. But
oh, I guess he was in Angels in the Outfield too.
Oh, Wait, he was? That's weird. Okay.
Guess so.
Okay. Well, who knew Matthew McConaughey was already making the Disney money before everyone else was?
I mean,
Got to rewatch that now.
Yeah. That's gonna be
he's way
that-
he's
that-
yeah, he's way down the cast list, but he's there, I guess. Yeah.
that's so funny. I'm gonna choose that movie for an episode one day. Um, so yeah, Matthew McConaughey, he chases after the boyfriend for a while. He does this stupid thing, which I feel like I've seen it in another movie, where he drives the vehicle backwards and then runs him over. Which I don't understand why the boyfriend didn't just run into the woods, because it seemed like there was a decent amount of space between all the shrubs. Like,
Yeah, and it was like an embankment too. There was no way the truck could get up that little embankment.
yeah,
It always annoys me in movies where people are running away from a car. Just run in between trees. They'll hit a tree.
Mhm.
yeah. It's always so goofy, you know. But
To be
Although
fair,
I'll-
Renee Zellweger does do it late, but she
Yeah.
eventually does. Like, she had a lot of opportunities to do it beforehand, but she eventually does do it.
right, and the movie kind of shot itself in the foot by having her do that, because by establishing that a character can do that, then you are also establishing that this other character made a really poor decision, like, basically, you know, which I guess that's kind of how a lot of horror movies operate. It's based on like people making as many poor decisions in a row as possible. You know, some horror movies hinge on that, and I guess, I don't know, this movie's a lot more blatant about it. So, let's see, Matthew McConaughey kills him. So then Jenny gets back to the intersection with the couple. The couple screw off in the other direction. Like, I forget exactly. I think like one of them runs ahead and they chase after each other. So
Yeah, there was
They,
like a
like-
fork in the road that somebody, I think maybe it's been a while since I saw it too.
yeah,
I think someone drove by on a different route, and they tried
Right.
those two tried to flag him down, and Jenny went back to the scene of the accident.
yeah, it was something like that. I forget in what order, but yeah. And so and at some point Jenny, the Renee Zellweger character, ends up getting picked up by Matthew McConaughey. Vilmer, that was the name I was trying to think of.
Yep.
I was like, what? I knew he had like a really stereotypical Texas name, but I just can't think of what it is. Vilmer. So yeah, so while that's happening, while like he picks her up, she starts sort of picking up on what he's got going on, and she spots he kind of convinces her to turn around and check out what's in the back of the truck, and she sees her boyfriend's body. Although he didn't really look dead, he looked just kind of asleep. Like a lot of times in these horror movies, like the characters' dead bodies will look all gnarly, but his didn't. I guess the actor didn't want to get any gross makeup on him or anything, but he looked really peaceful, actually. You know, like Matthew McConaughey, you know, cradled him in his arms until he fell asleep, and then just laid him down in the truck. Like, this is weird. So yeah, so that's going on. And while that's happening, I forgot to mention Leatherface shows up. So Heather and her boyfriend, actually this was sort of when it kind of got a little bit interesting, and this is also why the intro, that deleted intro, would have been unnecessary, because like this is when we get a nice little juicy exposition dump where the girlfriend talks about her insecurities and how she has to act dumb in order to get guys to like her and all this stuff, like which it's like, okay, that's kind of an interesting idea. That kind of made me sort of more interested in the character, because that's something a lot of people I know could relate to.
Yeah, and she's saying this while Leatherface is standing right behind her,
Yeah.
like
Which is
sniffing her
obviously-
hair and shit too, and she doesn't even notice.
Yeah. Well, like that's the thing, is that like these characters pretty oblivious. I mean, the house actually in some ways looks trashier than it did in the first film, and yet they're less nervous about wandering over to it than the main characters were in the first film were. In fact, they just kind of talk while they're doing it. And it's around this time that she also sort of talks about how Jenny's character gets hit, like how like her mom is always dating these guys who are abused. So like that's where you learn all that about the Reese Witherspoon character, or Renee Zellweger. Sorry, Jenny. I'm just gonna call her Jenny. That's when you learn like the most about that character is through that bit.
Yeah.
And then they decide to separate it for some dumb reason. The boyfriend ends up getting held up at gunpoint by, I forget what the character's name is, but he's always throwing quotes out.
Those fucking that fucking guy.
Yeah,
The stupidest quotes there is. That was so
That's
funny.
kind
That
of his
douche.
character quirk. He's like a cartoon character.
It was just like 2 letters or something. I don't fucking W-E.
W-E, yeah. W-E, yeah. So he's dealing with the boyfriend, and while that's happening, the girlfriend is getting attacked by Leatherface, who basically, yeah, like you said, he sniffs her hair, plays with her tiara a little bit, and eventually she spots him, flips out, starts shrieking at the top of her lungs. He grabs her, drags her inside, throws her in the cooler. She busts out of the cooler, so he has
Such a long, dumb scene. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was like-
clumsy.
Felt like just a parody of the original.
I think that's what it is. Like it's around this time that I started to kind of think like, wait a minute, this is starting to like this is like a comedy. Like this is funny.
Goofy.
Yeah. Like the girlfriend is just screaming so much, and
Leatherface is screaming too. Leatherface is screaming right back at her, like ah!
Yeah, the Leatherface in this movie has an epic set of lungs. He screams louder than any of the women in this movie do. Yeah, and eventually he manages to. I think he like puts a pot over the freezer so that she won't get out because she's too dumb to. She keeps trying to escape while he's still in the room. Like that's what I didn't understand about these character actions. Is like he's still obviously in there. He's still a threat. And you're still like trying to like bust out of this freezer, like where he put you to stay. Like that's when you got to wait for him to, fly out of the room and run upstairs or something. And then, you sneak out of the freezer and go out the window. Like, I bet if any of the characters in the first film had been put in that situation, that's what they would have done, But instead they all got killed so quickly that, they didn't get a chance to. So anyway, the boyfriend, I guess he tricks the guy into, actually he doesn't really trick him. That's the thing, because the guy puts the gun to his head and tells him to go inside. And so he goes inside, but then he locks the door behind him and then calls him a dumbass. I'm like, wait a minute, you just locked yourself inside of a house with a killer. Like, and you're calling that guy, the W.E. character, a dumbass? Like, you fool. Mm-hmm. He goes into the bathroom. He doesn't even notice that there's literally like a strung up carcass and like a rotting corpse in the bathtub. And he takes the time to take a piss. As soon as he sees all that stuff, he flees the room and then immediately gets killed in a very bloodless smack to the head with a hammer. And so he disappears from the movie. You never see him again.
He was swapped out of the position, right? He was put in the freezer, and then Heather was taken out and put on the meat hook.
Yeah, that's pretty much what happened. That's around this time. Yeah, he goes in, pulls her up, puts her on the meat hook, pretty much just like in the first film, only not as good. More like a comedy basically. So then cut back to Jenny and Vilmer. And Jenny, I think, jumps out of the truck. He, drives off. She hides into the wood. She hides off into the shrubs. And it's around this time that Leatherface, I think, starts chasing after her.
Yeah, Leatherface just shows up everywhere he needs to be.
Yeah, very, very convenient. Which it's a little the thing is, like, in the first film that happened, but the thing is, in the first film, it took place in a small area. Like, it took place in a much smaller, like, location.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, this film already established the location as being several miles wide.
Yep. And it was
You know?
confusing because he would just show up right in a few minutes. Like you'd see WE or whatever tell Leatherface to go get him, but it was technically would be miles away, and he'd just show right up.
He can teleport. He shows
Right.
up like immediately. It's the
Mhm.
craziest thing. So he chases her around for a while. I think this is around the time she runs back to the house. She runs inside. I think she sees some dead bodies at some point. I think like basically what happens in the first film happens, although in this film it's a little bit more of a stunt set piece because she climbs onto the roof rather than jump out the window onto the ground.
That was so dumb because she climbs on the roof and then onto an antenna as well.
Yeah.
I was
Which is
laughing.
like, yeah, she's like doing gymnastics while Leatherface is chasing after her with a chainsaw.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you have time to do gymnastics? And he's like buzzing up the antenna, all this stuff. I guess the reason they did that was because, I mean, in the first film, when the main character does that, she gets injured. Like when she jumps out the window and hits the ground, she like breaks her leg or whatever, or sprains her ankle. So in this film, in order to have Jenny not get injured so that she could be the strong character later on in the movie that, you know, that she needs to be, they have to have her do gymnastics. I don't know.
This she's like climbing a wire, and then it like snaps and she falls. And I don't know, like some wooden playground set or something, but she's all fine when she gets up.
Yeah, not much was breaking her fall, but man, she managed to not get injured, you know.
Yeah.
And that also happens in the next movie we'll talk about too. So, but we'll get to that. Anyway, so she escapes. Oh, and by the way, I was going to mention this was directed by the guy who wrote the first movie, Kim Henkel. So I don't know what his excuse was. But she gets away. She manages to retreat back to like Kimberly or Trish or Darla, whatever her name is, the lady with the breasts. And I'm trying to remember, did she get hit with the cattle prod first or the stick first? Oh, okay, I remember now. All right, so so Darla's there, or the lady with the breasts is there, and Jenny.
In my notes, I just called her Boob Lady as well.
Yeah, the Boob Lady. I don't know what else, because I can't remember her character's name for some reason. It like she sounded, her name was, it sounded like a female wrestler name. You know, it was like one of those type of things, like maybe Sable. I don't know. Anyway, so Jenny shows up. She's like, the guy's coming after me with the chainsaw. Like, you gotta help me. She, you know, looks around. She's obviously just kind of, you know, doing whatever, messing around. She's like, oh, don't worry. They're just trying to scare you. And then it's around this time that the other dude who's throwing all the quotes around shows up, and he's got a big bag. And this is when this is when like he starts hitting her with the cattle prod, which objectively speaking, the idea of watching a man hitting a woman with a cattle prod, it doesn't sound funny, but this movie manages to make it like into the funniest thing ever. Like, and I don't know if it had to do with Renee Zellweger's acting and the way she was screaming, but like something about it was just making me laugh. Like,
yeah.
And so then they put her in the trunk of the Boob Lady's car, and on her way back home, she decides to stop for pizza. I mean, it has to be a parody because, like, she goes to the place. The guy at the pizza joint, I think she draws some degree of attention to him. Like, she's like, "What's that noise, lady?" And she's like, "Oh, that's just somebody I got tied up back there." And then I think after that, a cop, like a literal cop, comes over to her and asks what's in the trunk. And she's like, oh, you really want to see? All right, I'll show you. And she just kind of procrastinates and bides her time. And then, like, just as she's about to open the trunk, the radio call happens, and then the cop walks away. And it's like, this is so dumb.
Yep.
So she gets a pizza. I guess they're not cannibals anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it doesn't really make sense that they would remove people's skin. Well, I guess Leatherface. I mean, maybe he still does his weird stuff, but
Seems that way, yeah.
Yeah, and also nobody gets killed with a chainsaw either. Like, even though it's called Texas Chainsaw Massacre, nobody died. Yeah, this is, I think, the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie where nobody gets killed with a chainsaw. So, I mean, unless you count like inadvertently with the vehicular incident toward the end of the movie, that's like the only, I don't know. But anyway, so they bring her back to the apartment. Jenny gets to meet this whole messed up family. Oh, and this is also around the time that the boob lady also goes back and grabs, the girlfriend managed to escape the meat hook and get
somehow, yeah.
pretty far, yeah. And Boobs comes over and knocks her out with a stick.
That was so funny.
Yeah.
I even just wrote down, like, yeah, she weirdly hits her. Like, it was such a...
She's like, This movie just made me laugh, not like again and again. This is like one of the funniest movies I've ever seen in my life, actually. So she gets to meet the whole family. Vilmer mostly sits around torturing her and plays weird
there is some cannibalism, I think, because I wrote down Matthew McConaughey bites Heather.
Oh, okay, there we go.
So.
Okay. No, you're right. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, that happens a little bit later. I don't know if he ate her nose or whatever. I mean, you didn't really see how much he bit off.
No, I just wrote he bites her. I don't know what it is.
Yeah. So maybe he ate part of her face. So there we go. There's the cannibalism, all done by Matthew McConaughey. Perfect. This is his best movie since Killer Joe.
He was good in this, I'll say that.
Yeah. I quite enjoyed the performances, even though they were kind of funny. I still enjoyed them and thought they did a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, the actors definitely brought their A game. That's for sure. They
gave it 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a whole range of emotions on display in this one. There's this one scene where Matthew McConaughey, he keeps putting his fingers in her mouth, like, again and again. Like, he does that like a couple times. He at one point she manages to actually get also because I was about to like sort of throw off because that what I was about to say doesn't happen until after a bunch of other things. The boobs lady brings Renee Zellweger's character, the Jenny character, into the bedroom and like tells her that Vilmer works for the Illuminati. What'd you guys think of that twist? I bet you didn't see that one coming.
I didn't. And at first I thought it was just her being brainwashed by some crazy guy.
Yeah.
But no, like, spoilers, he fucking does. And that's how
100%.
and that's how I guess this family gets away with murder for decades long, is because they're working for the Illuminati.
Yeah, it wasn't the twist that I would hope for from a movie about like a serial killer family. It's like, all these strange mysteries and rituals and bizarre trinkets and stuff fetishes that you see like little bits and pieces of throughout the series. And then the next generation, the twist is, it's just the Illuminati. Yeah. So, but I guess that's my biggest problem with the final act of this movie, was the twist ending. But anyway, so Jenny finds that out, and Matthew McConaughey basically spends a good portion of the rest of the movie either torturing Jenny or torturing Jenny's friend. And he's got a robot leg too, which he
Yeah.
sometimes can't find the remote for.
Yeah.
Got like 50 different remotes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
And I think they all work, just some don't have batteries.
yeah. He just built another one instead of getting new
'Cause-
batteries.
Yeah, because it's like there's a little bit further. They're fighting with the remotes, just clicking his legs, and he's clicking his legs, and it's just spazzing him out. And it's like, what?
Yeah, like he's very easy to paralyze. All you have to do is push a button on a remote, like,
Yeah.
and just hope that he doesn't get another remote to
Yeah,
counteract.
because he has
your
like
paralysis.
30 in his pockets too. He like just keeps whipping out. Oh, this one's not
Yeah.
working. Whips out another, like a video game
Yeah.
character pulling out all his weapons from a tiny backpack.
It was great. It was like an endless supply of like nothingness, But Jenny does eventually get a hold of the shotgun. Although there was some weird. Well, okay, it happens a couple times. Like at one point, she gets a hold of the shotgun, but like it isn't loaded, or there was something going. Like she didn't cock it, so like when Matthew McConaughey's character gets a hold of it, he immediately like blows a hole in the window, and then he grabs the gun and goes oh, and starts doing like the
Mhm.
like yeah. And so
I did like that whole scene because it was just pure chaos and mayhem of McConaughey
Yeah.
just hitting everybody, like his brother Leatherface, his girlfriend Renee Zellweger. He was just going crazy on all of them. It was
Yeah,
like, whoa, holy shit.
it was really cool. And Leatherface, he actually does kind of what he does in the first movie, where he goes from sort of being himself, which is just some like depressed weirdo rotting away in a basement wearing suspenders, to becoming grandma mode, where he has like an old lady face and wig on and acts like the grandma, to being full-blown sister mode, which is like what he does in the last act of the movie, where he kind of dons the third disguise. But in the second half, he's in grandma mode. And I actually would say Grandma Leatherface was probably the funniest, just because he really got, whoever the actor was really got into the character and was like oh, and was like doing a lot of like the like old lady frailness type thing. I just thought that was kind of funny. But yeah, while Matthew McConaughey is doing the raise the roof with the shotgun, Jenny bolts out of the house. This is probably the funniest part of the movie, actually, because it's rare that a victim can get so many perfect chances to escape in a horror movie.
Don't know how she didn't get away.
I'm still trying to figure out how
baffling.
she failed too. Like, so she's like driving away. Matthew McConaughey like jumps on her trunk, like on the car, and instead of like breaking, knocking him over and running him over, she panics, I guess. And
Does she do the
crashes the
brake
car.
thing, or no? She just crashes it.
She just outright crashes the car,
Okay.
like full on, like dead
Oh
stop.
right, yeah, because she gets knocked out after that, right? When she doesn't.
Yeah. So she gets brought back into the house. So yeah, failed escape attempt. Remarkable. And yeah, then I think it's around this time that Matthew McConaughey bites her friend there. And her friend is kind of just passed out at this point, doesn't want to get up. He actually does a few different. He bites her, he sets her on fire. And then like sometime after the Illuminati folks show up, yeah, so
yeah,
that
it was
eventually
during like,
happens.
this whole dinner scene where everyone's tied up and shit.
Yeah, everybody's tied up. There's a bunch of weird people in costumes there. I think most of them are dead.
Yeah, I thought they were all dead until one of them just stood up and walked out of the room.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, like so basically the Illuminati shows up, they stand around, they act, they basically like the Vilmer character acts a little bit kind of
He completely
suspicious.
changes.
Yeah.
He's like a dominant guy throughout the whole, until they show up, when he's kind of like turned into a little puppy dog, passive towards them for we don't know why. He just
Yeah. And he
Or
says
the
something.
Illuminati.
Yeah, they say they want these people to know what fear is, or something like that, or the meaning of fear. When by these people he means Jenny, because the other character's about to die. But and then he opens his shirt and he's got like this weird, like symbolic looking, I don't know, like mark
Yeah, his whole
thing.
chest is all scarred up in like some pattern, and I think he has like
Yeah,
he has some type
like
of rings
3
hanging
nipple
off him.
rings for
Yeah.
some reason. Like, and he starts licking Jenny on the face and then walks away. And so then Matthew McConaughey kills her friend by crushing her head, which he needs the remote for, I guess, you know. And somehow Jenny gets out. I think it's like another one of those situations where they're like trying to kill her and they fail.
Yeah, and Matthew McConaughey also just was, after he like squishes her head, just like cuts himself too, like across his chest like a madman.
Yeah, he starts cutting himself up and basically just going into full berserker mode. And so, you know, it's no wonder that Jenny's able to escape. And of course, he tries to go after her, but
it's because she got away because she somehow got one of his leg remotes. This is when the leg remote fight happens.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, because eventually she manages to get control of the situation again, and that's around the time that she gets his remote and starts messing his mobility up. So then we get to the worst part of the movie by far, where she's running away from the house, and all of a sudden the landscape doesn't look anything like it did before. Like before it was all trees and shadows, and now it looks a lot more open. It looks more like barren. Texas.
Yeah.
So I don't know exactly like where they teleported or what happened, but
right,
very strange. And she encounters an elderly couple on vacation, and they're drinking you know, the lemonade umbrella things. Like it's like stereotypical retired like couple in a mobile home, and she manages to flag them down.
At first they don't want to pick her up. They're like, no, don't pick her up. And then they see Leatherface chasing her down, and they're like, oh shit, pick her up.
Yeah. Yeah, Leatherface, he's you know, bolting down the street. He looks like Divine, bolting down the street with a chainsaw. He's attacking the mobile home, and eventually the elderly couple wipe out and presumably die. I mean, we don't see them again. I don't know. We don't see them die, but Leatherface is still chasing after the main character, so I guess it doesn't matter. And around this time, Matthew McConaughey manages to also catch up as well. And then, I mean, do you want to say what happens to him? Because like it's just so dumb. Like,
I don't. Yeah, just some random airplane kills him, runs him down with his like the propellers him down. Yeah, it's like what the some random airplane.
Just a literal airplane that comes out of nowhere for no purpose at all and is never explained, shows up and kills Matthew McConaughey, and the threat's over. Because then Leatherface bursts into tears and starts dancing around and crying, and the Illuminati pick up the Renee Zellweger character. I got it right that time. And
I saw you struck in.
Yeah. And they're like, oh, don't worry, you're safe now. And she kind of tells them off. Doesn't really matter. She goes to the hospital. The lady from the first movie, Marilyn Burns, is on a stretcher. And it's like, what? What's that all about? And then like the people kind of near the main character are like, whoa, oh, did you know her? Did you know who that was? I guess we ain't getting any answers. Something weird's going on here. And that's pretty much the end of the movie. I mean, that's I mean, there's a little bit more of Leatherface in the fields, you know,
just spinning around screaming.
Yeah, Julie Andrews. And that's pretty much it, you know. So yeah, that's the return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation, Part 4.
That should be the official title.
Yeah.
Honestly, it would actually make the movie better because it would describe the movie more. It feels kind of like 3 mistake movies blurred into one, you know. So.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. I actually kind of love this movie. It, like as time has gone on, even though I think it's a giant piece of garbage, like I don't know, like something about it. Like I can watch it anytime and enjoy it, smile, laugh. Just there's just something like unique about it, you know. Like yeah, it's grown on me. I think I've gone mad. So I'd give it like, I don't know, like a 4 on the Showgirls entertainment scale.
Okay.
I mean, maybe a 2 or maybe a 2 as a movie because it's not a very good movie. I mean, as far as the acting goes, it's all right, but like, I don't know. Those are my thoughts overall. Like, I'm glad I watched it again. So.
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad I saw it, I guess. Yeah, because it is one I guess you'd want to see for the hilarity of a mess of a movie.
Yeah, it is
And
also on the bottom 100 too. So.
Okay, makes it does perfectly fit down there.
Yeah.
And McConaughey is great in it. He's just unhinged. He even does the all right. He
I
pulls
love
one of them out.
All right. Yeah.
I can't give it I'd give it like a 2.5 probably just to let you watch it for something bizarre and just it's quite disturbing at many points.
Yeah.
But
yeah, probably not like a fun casual viewing type of thing. Like, man, I think I'm the only person who could probably like find enjoyment out of like certain things and then like just because like it was so goofy and bizarre and I've seen enough of these kinds of movies, but yeah.
I gave it a 2 just because my memory of watching it as a teenager was like, oh, this is good. But
Yeah.
but like if I watched it again, I'd probably give it a little higher just because
Yeah.
now I know that it's bad.
Yeah. Yeah, so you got to go through the stages. You have to like go through the stages of oh, this is pretty good to oh, this isn't so good to oh, I guess this is actually not bad.
It's so bad it's good.
Yeah.
yeah, it is one of those for sure.
Yeah. But,
Yeah.
yeah, that's about it. So yeah, I guess we'll talk about your movie next, Nick.
Okay. My movie was Stone Cold 91, I think, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Let me whip this up.
I think it's by the same director as I Come in Peace.
Oh, really?
I think. I could be wrong, but I think that's what I read.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's I actually almost got skipped because I was trying to look for it this afternoon, and I was like, oh, the only one I could find was on at first on Amazon or riff tracks of it. But I did find a YouTube version of it.
Yeah, that's the one I watched.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. Yeah, it is available. It was available at one point.
I think it was when I chose it.
Yeah.
And now it's like only on Amazon through riff tracks. So it would have had, commentary throughout, comedy commentary throughout. But there's a version on YouTube for now. It'll probably be taken down soon enough.
Yeah, it makes me wonder though. Did somebody get snatch up the rights to this and is gonna do some?
They must have, because it is like a ton of podcasts have covered it as one of those movies.
Okay.
Because I was also confused at the beginning, like, did we do this movie or not? Because I remember the very first scene. I think I must have seen at least the first scene
Yeah.
which is a grocery robbery.
Yeah. Yeah, the
Like,
first shot of the movie, it's like a security camera, and the guy's like, boom.
yeah, and he's just blowing up cereal boxes.
Yeah, it's like a shootout almost. Well, not sort of a shootout. Yeah, like basically like it starts off as a robbery and then it evolves into almost a shootout, but not quite.
Yeah, just Stone. I don't know what the hell, Brian Bosworth, whatever we want to call him. He has like, because the main plot is he's going undercover as a biker gang, so he has two names throughout the movie.
Yeah, John Stone, I think his name is, or Jim Stone, or Jim, or well, Jim is his normal Jim Hogue or something, and then his fake name is John Stone, I think.
Yeah.
At least, yeah, it was long though. Yeah,
Joe Huff is his real name.
Joe Huff, that's it. Yeah, I was a little confused about that. So,
Joe.
Oh,
uh-oh.
Hang on, I'm gonna, before we,
Probably saying before we go on, he's probably gonna like reset his router or something. So. Cool.
I actually literally just said before that hey, let me switch to my other network because I'm lagging. Well, that's all you missed for me.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, yeah. So Joe Huff and John Stone.
Yep.
Those are his names.
Yeah, yep. He's one of those renegade cops that he was on a 3-week suspension. Was it from that grocery robbery? Like, who robs a grocery store anyway? But
I think, all right, so I think he was a bit of a loose cannon before the grocery store robbery and had been suspended from the force prior to that. And then he happened to be at the grocery store at that moment in time. And he was dressed kind of like, you know how the wrestlers dress when they walk down the ramps to the ring, and they're always like wearing those big coats, and then they get into the ring and they take them off. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's wearing one of those. So like you look at him and you know he's up to no good.
And after that, there's that he gives that beautiful stupid ass good guy protagonist quip, clean up on aisle 4.
Oh yeah.
You're just like, they had to put that in, didn't they? They just had to. They couldn't resist it. And I can't blame them at this point. I can't blame them.
I can't either, because like one guy went through the window, another guy like went flying through like a box, like a display shelf.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
So that's what you're getting into. First scene ends with a clean up on aisle 4 joke.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, this is one of those. This is one of those man cave movies from the early 90s that like I think my dad used to like, because my dad used to rent all kinds of trash, and this one I remember being one of the more like fun ones. Which watching it now, it's actually more fun than I remembered it being, because it's like. But
it was actually
anyway.
Watching it now, I was actually more surprised at how well it was put together than what I was expecting. I was expecting like a samurai cop. Like that still is probably like my bar so far.
Yeah,
but this one was a little more put together than that.
Yeah, you can't get over that wig, that's like the thing.
Yeah. Oh god. So at this point we're kind of expositioned to what's going to be happening throughout the movie. Is there's this biker gang, the Brotherhood is just what they're called. I don't know, one of their leaders got caught and was put on trial, and I think they killed the initial judge.
Yeah, they blew him up.
Oh yeah. Oh right, yeah, they blew his boat up while he was getting on it. So this new judge is coming in who wants to also run for governor, so he wants to put him on death. the death row or whatever.
Yeah.
And the gang wants to stop it.
Yeah.
So that's
pretty much.
basically the one of the plots of the bad guys, or I guess it mostly the main plot of the main bad guys.
Yeah, I mean it's like I mean I want to call it a biker gang, but upon rewatch it's actually more of a biker commune, like a biker cult almost. Yeah, like one of their head honchos gets locked away for 40 years and is possibly at risk for being on death row. So
they're retrialing him too. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's legally allowed, that double jeopardy thing. I don't like.
Maybe in the state of Mississippi. I mean, I know that later on they involve like the literal Supreme Court of Mississippi, so it might have something to do with that. But basically, from what we gathered, the biker cult, their aim through various manipulation through the mob and all this stuff is to start essentially a turf war with the law enforcement in order to free their guy. Is kind of what I gathered.
Yeah.
So.
And we see this exposition, I think it's like through a newspaper and TV while our boy is making what I thought was a smoothie at first. That was so fucking funny. It was like, he's pouring in orange juice. Okay. And then Snickers ad placement. He throws 2 Snickers in. I'm like, what's going on here? He chucks potato chips in, like, huh? And then he like, cracks eggs, puts it in. Okay, we're getting to the protein shake, and then just chucks the eggshells in as well. I was like, well, why'd you break the eggs in the first place?
And also like the blender was like a little smaller than usual, and he was loading it up with so much stuff that I feel like it could have broken that blender.
Right? Like, how did it even work? You figure like the motor would have just like kind of
this is so much, like that's like a little too much protein because you got like all that stuff. And
I'm like, what the fuck? He's gonna drink this? But no, it gets even a little wackier than what you expect. He has a pet Komodo dragon of some, like, I think it's a Komodo dragon, some giant ass lizard. He has a pet giant lizard.
Either a Komodo dragon or like a monitor lizard or something.
Yeah. But I think Komodo dragons are deadly and shit, so I don't think it was that. So monitor lizard makes sense. It's just a soup. Yeah, he makes soup. It's just like a soup for it, and he's like, come on, it's your dinner, come on, you gotta get it eaten, get healthier.
Sorry, my screen went off. I gotta plug in my battery. That was probably my favorite relationship in the whole movie, between him and his dragon.
He was so funny. And I don't remember if this is when his new partner comes in or not, but it was funny because he was wearing like this man thong. Talking like his new partner comes in talking to him and shit, like, and he's like, wait, do you have a dog? And it's the little the big lizard under like some sheets, and he's sitting on a bed, and the girl just is half naked next to him. He's like, oh shit, oh fuck, what the fuck?
She literally has one line in the whole movie. Hiya.
Never see her again. Yep.
It should have been hi fucking ya. Like, perfect.
And this is all just to establish that this guy's a badass.
Because it just, I mean, the fact that they showed him busting a couple guys at a grocery store who were robbing it, and then
it wasn't enough.
Like they also have to have him feeding a literal dragon, and then like, getting out of bed with a woman while wearing a muscular man thong thing, and
that man thong was so fucking funny.
It was.
I don't know.
This movie is like a lot of testosterone going on in this one.
Yep. So the FBI wants him to go undercover, saying, oh, take that 3-week suspension off if you go undercover with this bike gang. And he's like, respectful, like, or he says no. He says no initially, like smart, because it is just 3 weeks. And then they just say, okay, never mind. You're going to be on 6 months unpaid if you don't take it. And he's like, what the fuck? That's blackmail. Oh, man.
Yeah. And of course, the one guy in the FBI, it was the dentist from Freaks and Geeks. He's like, oh, the FBI doesn't consider it blackmail. And then it never gets brought up again.
Yeah.
That
They're
makes
just
it
like,
okay.
no, it's not. What? Okay. All right.
Yeah, that was silly. But I don't blame him also, like, for not wanting to infiltrate a biker cult, honestly, because like you find out like literally there's, after you see the whole robbery thing, there's like a montage of them doing their biker stuff, and they're dangerous folks. I mean, they're like shooting at each other, like shooting beer bottles off of each other's shoulders and stuff.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, it was on his, like the first guy did it. It was on his shoulders. The dude shooting kept missing, so he put it on his head.
yeah, it's crazy. They're literally pit fighting right out in the open. I mean,
That's later too, though. After because he's trying to ingratiate himself, so he goes to he goes to the strip club, tit for tat,
yeah,
with his hypochondriac partner who's like a germaphobe and shit.
yeah.
Who
He
looks
puts on
goofy.
like backwards baseball caps, like, yo, yeah,
He looks goofy as hell. Yeah.
yeah.
But in there, he tries to, like, not necessarily pick a fight, but one up one of the header, not the main guy, but like it's the second in command who's there. Ice is his name.
Yeah.
Kind of picks a fight with him, but just some random fight and just downstairs breaks out for no reason. Like, I don't know, some guys are owed money, and so Stone helps out the biker gang by beating the shit out of these dudes. So that helps him ingratiate with, because you see the actual head honcho Chains kind of like, walking the perimeter, just watching Stone the whole time. So that helps out, which gets him an invite to that crazy biker fight party, fucking whatever.
The pit fight.
There's
pit fight.
Yeah, there's like a Fight Club pit fight thing that he goes into and beats the shit out of some dude. At first he's getting his ass kicked, but of course he turns it around.
Yeah, it was a pretty rugged fight. Like, I mean, I've seen a lot of martial arts movies. This is more of like a brawling, grappling type of like thing where he's like, he at one point he picks up Brian Bosworth and he's like gonna bend him over his knee and stuff, and there's like a close up of his torso, and he's like, and he busts him.
Yeah,
cool.
And he wins a bike race during that as well, against, I think it was that Ice guy.
Yeah, Brian Bosworth, he's just beating all the levels on Grand Theft Auto, all the missions.
Yeah. This was montage-esque, but except there was like dialogue and no music track, but it was just scene for scene, just like him showing him how much of a badass he is to these bikers.
Yeah.
So
and
Chains
is the bad guy, the Chains guy.
Yeah, so Chains likes him. He likes they're raiding his van. I don't know, and he lets Chains basically lets his, the main female. I don't know her name except for her the old ladies, like Chains old ladies, basically. That's I don't know if they said her name more than once, if they did at all.
Yeah, I don't remember. She probably had like maybe like her and Brian Bosworth probably had the most personality out of all the characters in the movie. So
let's see if I can. Maybe it's Nancy, I think.
Okay, we'll just call her Nancy for now.
I mean, because I did not get her name because they couldn't have said it more than once.
Yeah, maybe Brian Bosworth is like, Nancy, wait, or something later on in the movie.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But he basically but Chains basically says, yeah, you can have your way with my wife if you want.
Yeah.
And since he's a cop or whatever, he's like, I don't want to, and just I don't know, doesn't
Yeah,
go
like
anywhere with that
basically,
either.
yeah. Chains is like, you can have my old lady, and she goes into Brian Bosworth's van, or maybe it's not his van, but it's a van.
It is
I guess
his. He's like, what? Because he's like comes up to him. And he's like, why are you going
yeah.
through my shit?
Okay, yeah, I remember that. Yeah, so she's like with him in his van, and she's like, aren't you gonna take me? And he's like, he says something along
she's
the
coming
lines,
on to him and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, and he says something along the lines of, I don't consider a hot thing like you something that a person can just give away, or something like that. Something that sort of seems complimentary, but also seems kind of like unusual to like.
It's complimentary, but also insinuates that she's not a person, just a object.
Yeah, exactly. Which it sounds about right for this movie's atmosphere, because really this whole movie is about people kind of objectifying themselves in order to get street cred. It's kind of interesting in that sense.
Yeah. The next, it still keeps on going for Stone to try and get.
Yeah, there's one bit with the body armor.
Yep, that's right. Yeah, that's what I was about to bring up. Is the next piece. He's still trying to ingratiate. So he brings him some body armor, and he's like, "This is federal stuff. How'd you get this?" And he's like, "I don't know. Half all my guns are, and so are half of yours." He's like, okay.
Yeah, and Chains is like,
oh, good point. And he makes it, and he puts it on Stone and shoots him, just to, I don't fucking know, just to
fuck with him, I guess.
Yeah.
Even though he said, "Don't fuck with me."
Yeah.
And he even tackles him and says, "I told you not to fuck with me."
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, he breaks out a fight, and
Yeah. And this is when he wins Chain's heart, actually.
Mm-hmm.
When he almost kills him.
Yep. So he gives him a mission. I didn't really catch what it was, but from what I gathered, what that follows was he was supposed to kill some guy.
Yeah. It's like somebody who Chains felt was stiffing him, or like was like stealing from him or something like that.
Yeah, stiffing or snitching or something. I don't know, but
bring me some collateral, like bring me back something of his, like one of those kinds of things.
Yep. So. And we see him actually being a cop during it, though. Like they arrest him and put him in like protective custody and shit. And
yeah. And then he takes pictures of his ears.
Yeah, he gets some ear from somebody and has a tattoo guy say, "I've tattooed ass, titties, and everything in between, but I've never tattooed a dead ear."
Yeah, and meanwhile they put him on a plane back to wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, then he gives Chains the ear, and Chains is like, "Oh." That's like mostly all Lance Henriksen does in this movie is act impressed by Brian Bosworth.
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
So, and then Chains, this is after he does that, even Chains is a little skeptical still, because he's like, how is this random guy, doing all of this stuff? So I guess he has somebody working on the inside of the police department. Says, "So can you look up this Stone guy for me?" And that doesn't come back later until the last 10 minutes of the movie, but yeah.
Oh, the lady on the phone.
Yeah.
I remember her. She was weird. Her voice didn't really fit her. Like, I don't know, her voice sounded like it was ADR. I don't know how to explain it. She, like, the way she was talking, she was like, "Hello, can I help you?" But the way she sounded was like, "Hello, can I help you?" Like, it was strange. Like, I don't know if you guys noticed that.
I did, yeah. And at first I was first a bit confused because I thought it was the girl that he was sleeping with too in the very beginning, but I don't think it was. And then also at the end, I think it may have been alluded that it was Nancy's sister. I don't know if that was just a throwaway line that I heard or made up, but
I mean, I guess I wouldn't be surprised since like because she was on the phone with her at one point, like for like a second.
yeah,
That's something there, yeah. And that's around the time when she found out that Joe Hill or whatever his name is, and Jack Stone or John Stone, and I don't know what their names are, but like I think that was around the time that she found out, like, oh wait a minute, this person has multiple names.
Mhm.
But that's
Yeah.
later.
But that's way later, yeah.
So, and was this around the time that there was that that grenade in the
Yep.
car? Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it comes. So his next mission for the gang is, I don't know, some just random drug pickup, money pickup that goes awry because a rival. It's like the mafia, like the Italian mafia.
Yeah.
He's like, this is our turf, and he blows up another one of the main bikers, and Joe tries
Although
to
he
stop him
survived.
but can't. Yeah, yeah, he does survive. He's all fucked up in a hospital, shit.
Yeah, maimed beyond belief.
And he's like, kill me, please, just kill me. He's
Yeah.
like asks them to kill him.
And
he's
he's
like,
biker gang.
yeah, and like they in the biker gang just like, no, you'll be fine. And he hands one of the biker girls to him. He's like, she'll marry you, don't worry, I'll ordain it and everything.
Yeah.
It's like, god damn.
And this was the scene I remembered the most from this movie too, strangely enough, because like so they're in the room, and after they're done like trying to be supportive of their friend who is now a permanent burn victim, the TV is giving a news report of the Supreme Court date for their guy who could potentially be tried as on death row. And so Chains is like, turn that shit off. And instead of turning it off, the biker literally just puts his fist through it.
Yeah.
That was the scene I remembered the most for some reason, when the guy just punching the TV.
I was like, all right, cool.
And then they leave the hotel or the hospital room.
Yeah.
So funny.
So this is where I guess some more undercover cop shit starts happening. Stone kind of alludes that he has, I don't know, they call it, I think it's just like Breaking Bad type methylamine. They call it PTP or whatever.
P2P.
Yeah, P2P, yeah.
It's kind of a dumb name, but
Which I'm assuming is just because I know bikers make meth and sell meth. That's their main drug. I'm assuming it's one of the chemicals to make it. And he says, yeah, I can get a ton of this shit. Yeah. But it's actually like a FBI sting that Stone's setting him up for.
Yeah. I mean, wasn't there also like I remember somewhere in the midst of all this stuff, there was also like a purse, like the Italians steal the Chains's girlfriend's purse, like after she makes a bunch of money, like $400.
Oh, it was, that was the pickup they were doing. Yeah, it was. Okay. At first, I thought like, I don't know, maybe he's 90s and I don't remember inflation, but she's like, if it was his old lady that just lost only $400, because she said how he like asked her, how much did you lose? 400. I was like, okay, 400 grand, shit, you're fucked. But no, it was just $400. Like, it's like he's like, just 400. Don't tell him where it came from. I'm like, well, I'm sure even if it was like a lower henchman, he would have just gotten the shit beat out of him. But like, since it was the main biker dude's wife or old lady, she would have just gotten like a talking to.
Right. But I guess that's kind of how it works in the world of this movie. Anyway, he gives her $400 and says, don't forget where you got it. Mm-hmm. Don't forget where you got it, girl. I'm not gonna forget, or something like that.
Yeah. And we're given some more FBI shit. Like they need a witness as well. So, Stone's gonna try and flip Nancy. uh to
And
be a
she,
witness. Yeah.
yeah, and doesn't she also like at some point she actually kind of catches wind that he might be an officer, and she sort of confronts him about it, and he kind of gives her a non-answer a little bit. Like he says, "Okay, yeah, I'm a cop. So what?" Like or something like
This was
that.
after the call. Yeah, this was after
Oh,
that
okay.
call.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Whoops. I'm jumping ahead again.
Yeah, but there was also the when did this happen? Because it happens a little later. Yeah, so
Oh yeah. I remember now. This was after the whole thing with the border patrol.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because
All
I
right.
even
So,
wrote down that makes it easy because like after they're starting to move forward with the plan of the biker gang starting to move forward with the plan of like the drug trade, they go, it's, I don't know, they have to go to like this army base or something, and then they just
yeah.
they straight up murder people,
Yeah. They
which
kidnap the two border patrol agents.
they're army people on this because that's when it starts getting hair, like because eventually, because that's when Stone's like technically taken off the case because it goes from Alabama to a federal
Oh, that
thing.
happened. That happens after the two are killed. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's in fact, I
it,
think it might have had to do with that.
it did, yeah, because
Yeah.
it's like this isn't you can't do this has nothing to do with you anymore. Not like this is federal stuff now that two army men have been killed and shit.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
and Nancy doesn't like that, and there was also this other biker dude that like was like liked Stone a lot.
Yeah, this
And
was interesting.
yeah, because he was just like, because after that first bar fight, he was like, a big fanboying over Stone the whole time, and he was against it as well. And I think it is a biker thing, at least like with Hell's Angels, that they don't fuck with innocent people. Like
Right.
that's one of their main rules. And I think they were definitely an analog to the Hell's Angels. So like
Yeah.
they started fucking with the main tenets of it by killing those two dudes, and they're like, you can't do this, and he didn't care. No one cared except for Nancy and that one dude.
Yeah. And they end up maiming him. Like, don't they like shove his hand into like the bike spoke or something like that?
Oh right, yeah, yep. They like and they don't bring that because he does show up later too, still.
Yeah.
But then I guess they never show his hand either. So afterwards, but
Yeah. So we're meant to assume that was, yeah, he was punished.
yeah,
But
and it gives the sound effect that like his hand was sawed off. Like
yeah. But this whole movie's so over the top that like it's hard to tell if somebody's getting maimed or just getting beaten up or whatever. But yeah, it's pretty sadistic what they do to the guys at the army dudes, because they literally lock them in boxes first and then shoot them. It's like, yeah. So it's not just like innocent murder, it's like kind of like
torture.
yeah. So so Chains at this point is like, yeah, he's got to die. But
Yep, and this is where I wrote like, I was, because this is right after he says I'm gonna flip Nancy, and then they show her like oh, so they're just making this easy for him to flip her. Like the
yeah,
movie's doing 90% of the main character's work for him.
yeah, things are going perfectly well, and then like it's around the 55-minute mark that things start getting botched a bit. Because yeah, he's talking to Nancy and they're like having lunch or something like that, and she's talking about herself, and he's like starting to learn something. It seemed like it was going in an important direction, but then his FBI partner there showed up and ruined it by passing him a note and saying something like, "Come meet me here now." So he's like, "Oh, gotta go make a phone call," and he leaves and drives away on a bike, and that other dude who's been suspicious of him the whole time sees him doing that, and so he starts chasing after him, and that dissolves into what happens next.
Yeah, yep. Ice finds him, sees that he's talking to the FBI guy, and even calls him, "So Joe Huff," or whatever. And then they get into a big bike chase scene with that Ice guy dying.
Yeah, along with a couple other innocent cops. Like,
Yep. Because those are, I still like, I've seen this multiple times in movies we watched, motorcycles exploding way bigger than I assume a motorcycle would explode.
Yeah, this movie had a few of those actually, because like that truck explosion, and there was like a helicopter explosion, and then at least one other car explosion somewhere in there too. Like
Yeah.
lots of explosions in this movie. And yeah, the motorcycle explosion was particularly gnarly because then you got to see his burnt up body. This movie has like a thing for maimed corpses because yeah, you see like a close up of his face, all like red and swollen, and then he dies. It's like woof. So he didn't even get a chance to tell Chains what was really going on.
Yeah,
You know?
but the wife finds out because she gets the call and she finds out that he may be he says he first says yes, so I have a bunch of aliases, what of it? And I couldn't but she asked him, so are you a cop? And I couldn't I couldn't get the dialogue out of what he said at all, if you could or not. So, like I rewound it a few times. He said the word cop. I couldn't tell if he says, yeah, I'm a cop, or no, I'm not a cop, or maybe I am. I couldn't get I was like, God damn, what did he say? This is
I think he
important.
said he was a cop, but then later on in the movie, she acts like really shocked. Like,
Yeah,
more
she does
shocked
act. She acts super shocked when shit goes down. That, oh, you are a fucking pig. So I don't think he actually admitted it there. Is my understanding, but I do want to. I still want to know what he fucking said.
I want to know too. I hate to say it, but the movie it's so the DVD company that released it is Kino, right? Or the Blu-ray company that released it is Kino. But one thing I know about that company, though, that one of the things I've consistently had problems with is that their releases tend to not have subtitles. So I'd be willing to bet that even if you had this movie on physical release, you still wouldn't know what they said.
Damn, that's shitty. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully maybe the audio would be better. You'd hope.
Maybe. Turn up your speakers. Be like, okay, come on, Brian Bosworth.
I did. I turned up my speakers, put my ears right to him, rewound it like 3 times to try and hear what he said, but couldn't get it because that's important to know what he said in that moment.
Yeah, we got to understand the character. It's like a missing piece of the Stone Cold puzzle.
Right. And then we're just seeing a Viking funeral for that ice dude. He's like on top of a bunch of shit. They light him on fire and whatnot.
Yeah, that was funny. I couldn't help but wonder, like, that character. I mean, he seriously had nobody else in his life other than these bikers. Like, he didn't have maybe some family somewhere who might have actually wanted to like give him a proper burial or something. No, like just
not how the bikers is. What was that? Her tattoo was like, remember she had a tattoo like brotherhood before everything, or like BCRBA or all. I don't fucking know. It was like
I don't
brotherhood
know.
Before everything or something like that. So yeah, the brotherhood's the hurt was his family.
Yeah, I guess so. But they do the Sting thing anyway.
Yep, the Sting begins after that funeral, which is like the last 10-15 minutes of the movie, really.
Yeah, this is when shit happens really fast.
Yep. You see Stone, he shoots a dude, but he's wearing a vest, of course, because he's a cop. He wouldn't shoot him because he shot him right in front of Chains. And it was no surprise. Yes, he was a cop and he was squibbed up and all that shit.
Yeah. The one time in the movie when the squibs are fake.
Yeah. And so the truck starts I guess they're on to him. The bikers are somewhat on to him at least, or something. People start suspecting because they divert the actual delivery location, which makes the entire sting go complete, like, because they needed to be in a certain spot.
Yeah. I'm guessing it had to do with that one dude earlier in the movie that they tried to send out of the country. It must have been around this time that he showed back up again. Maybe he showed up after the funeral. Maybe he showed up after Stone Cold shot the guy or pretended to shoot the guy. Like maybe
I'm
they're
not-
driving on the road and then he's like,
Well-
hey, yo, I just got back. I got to tell you something about that John Stone fella.
Well,
Maybe.
all I know is they were trying to get the Italian mob and the bikers with this one sting.
Yeah. And earlier when they talked to the mob, wasn't there something about like a head in the helmet or something?
Oh right, yeah, that one guy that was responsible for the grenading of that thing. Like they
Yeah.
gave him the present and the head was inside, so that's how the biker gang was able to coax them into this drug sting thing.
Yeah. Which, okay. I mean, I guess it makes sense.
Yeah, but when so the sting gets diverted, and this is where this is when she actually finds out she's a cop, because his partner says, Huff, what the fuck are you doing? Where are you going? You're going off course. And she says, oh, you are a cop. I knew it. Shit.
Yeah. And he's like, thanks, you just blew my one witness or whatever.
Yep.
So, and he's hoping that she won't rat him out, but brotherhood before everything. So.
Yeah, and you think she does too, because after that, I think he gets does he get captured there or something? I don't remember exactly. No, because he's able to. He just bikes off. Like he delivers the truck there and is like, I'm out of here.
Yeah, because he's got to stop the truck full of drugs.
Yeah,
because that has to happen in the movie.
Yeah. And I remember seeing this at least shot. Maybe it was in a red letter they did this movie that I saw this shot from, where the mob's taking the drugs or whatever, and he just says pull over, and they don't. So he shoots off the trailer. He just shoots the actual trailer off of the truck, and it goes into a gas station and explodes, and then never talked about again.
Yeah, they pull a Miracle Mile. They blow up an entire gas station and then move on.
And it also doesn't make sense that they use actual P2P for this sting. Like you'd figure they would just fill up barrels with water or some shit, because that's all it looked like.
Yeah, that was weird.
So why would you actually need it unless they were gonna, I guess, test it or something on site? I don't fucking know, but
yeah, I don't know. But he does end up reconvening with the FBI shortly before going back to the biker commune.
Yep. And he does go back to the biker commune, but is ratted out at first, you think, by her, because he's saying something. He says something about a bitch and he's petting her, but then some guy, I don't remember, I was trying to remember where he came from, because I remember him from, was that the ear dude?
Yeah, that was the ear dude. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So he's the one that ratted him out. Yeah.
He's got a long hair now for some reason.
Yeah, because I definitely recognize him. Like, wait, what was he? What did he do before this? That rat, that son of a bitch.
Yeah. And then the villain does probably the dumbest thing he possibly could have done in this movie, and lets Brian Bosworth live.
Kind of ish. He plays a game of half-loaded Russian roulette. I don't know why.
Yeah.
He empties out his thing and puts only 3 bullets in instead of the 6.
Spins the barrel. Yeah.
Shoots the rat, and then
shoots his wife.
Oh, that's right. She does die, doesn't she?
Yeah, he shoots her. I think.
Does she even come? Because I wondered too, just the way it was shot, it kind of looked like it would have been one of those grazed my head shots. But she doesn't come back, does she? She is dead, right?
I assume she was dead. I mean, pretty much everybody else in the movie died, so I'm assuming she's dead too.
Yeah, I thought the same thing happened.
Yeah, because it looked like she did one of those ducks and it clipped her head kind of thing, but she doesn't come back, so I guess she's dead.
Yeah, I think it was a really fast shot, and there weren't any squibs or anything like that. I think that was one of the few times in the movie, actually, probably the only death scene in the movie that wasn't bloody.
Yeah.
Which maybe it's because they didn't want to show, because she was actually a likable character, and so they probably didn't want to show her getting her face blasted open.
Yeah.
but yeah,
They had to
so
have
that's
some
it.
class.
Yeah, even though it's a very classless, politically incorrect movie. I mean, they kill a priest within the first like 10 minutes.
And he impersonates a priest during the final scene too.
Yep. Yep, the big showdown, which
Mhm.
ends in actually a much more interesting way than I recalled.
Yeah, pure chaos. Just
Yeah.
goes
You
off the
see,
walls.
I remembered the movie ending. I don't know if this is a spoiler, but I remember the movie ending with Brian Bosworth winning.
Doesn't he?
I mean, not really. Everybody was dead other than him. Like he, like pretty much the biker gang. Like
Oh,
I mean,
true.
they kind of blew it. The whole thing. Like the
Yeah,
biker gang kind of succeeded. They killed everybody.
but the
They,
biker gang also dies. So
yeah, that's true.
mutual
So,
assured destruction.
yeah, but they ended up taking out the entire Supreme Court. They ended up taking out pretty much all of the police that were there, including the courthouse and the witnesses. Yeah, I think the only people who survived at the end of the movie were Brian Bosworth and his FBI partner.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, but a number of different things happened in the midst of all that. And I don't know, some of the highlights. I don't know if you guys want to talk about the whole thing that. I guess we may as well start with the helicopter.
Yeah, they somehow get a helicopter,
Yeah.
the biker gang, and like I guess it's gonna be a diversion because they captured Stone at this point, and they're gonna I don't know what they're blowing. At first, I thought they said White House. They're gonna blow up the White House by dropping him onto it, but
Yeah.
I was like, I think they were just talking metaphorically because
Yeah.
they were still just in Mississippi or Alabama or wherever this is taking place.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I think it's Mississippi. Yeah, I might have called it Alabama earlier. But...
Yeah, no, I don't remember. It's one of those two states. Yeah. So like, yeah, the whole idea was they were gonna drop him. They strap him with dynamite, drop him off onto I don't know some like political building to blow up, which would be the diversion of them allowing him to kill the judges, chains to kill the judges. But of course, Bosworth, breaks free,
Does the typical hero thing on the helicopter where he busts everybody up and then takes control of the helicopter, basically.
Yep, there's like 10 seconds left on the dynamite, but it takes him like a minute and a half to push the guy out with the dynamite. And like that explosion was real close to a helicopter too. And I'm pretty sure helicopters are pretty sensitive to any type of air fluctuation and movement, which a dynamite explosion would do. So I'm surprised that nothing happened to that afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure filming that scene was a nightmare. I'm sure filming a lot of these scenes were a nightmare actually, because some of them were pretty technically complicated. Like you got the showdown in the courthouse on the steps. You got the helicopter thing. You got
so what was interesting
going on the ground level and the guy falling out. Like it's just crazy. But go on.
So yeah, in that one shot with the dude that was it in this movie or the next movie? There was a guy that falls out onto a car, and like that was this movie. That was a good shot. I was like, oh, damn, that was cool.
That was impressive. And also the scene where Lance Henriksen actually takes the guy out. That was probably my favorite quote of the movie. Where he goes to the judge and he's putting the gun. He's like pointing the gun at him. He's like, no, yes. Don't shoot. Like,
that was a great quote. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was.
Brings me back to. You can say it if you want.
It was. Yeah. This brings me back to my father's last words were, "Don't shoot. That gun is loaded."
Wait, son. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was great.
That was a good
villain.
Yeah, he was a cool villain. Yeah. Played it really well. And there was one thing too that I noticed. The the reason why I think the reason why this whole last epic scene was directed by somebody else.
Oh, okay.
No, wait, that's in our next movie, actually, I think. Now that I remember watching it, yeah.
Okay, yeah, either way. I mean, the next movie is sort of similar in certain ways, so I can understand like the mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both of them have an FBI partner.
Yeah. Two renegade cops with two loser partners, yeah.
Yeah. But this movie does have one thing in common with Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. And that is a scene in which a character jumps from a tall height and somehow manages to survive the fall without injuring themselves.
Yeah.
Slightly.
Because I assume that's what he was gonna go for, but get closer at least to the roof of the building. But no, he jumps pretty far, and not just onto the roof, through the like a glass ceiling, and then presumably a couple more floors down onto the ground.
Yeah, but like, it was such a weird shot though. Like because like when he lands, we're meant to
sideways,
assume yeah. We're meant to assume that he lands hard on the floor, but instead, like, it's angled at such a way that it looks like he's like hitting the wall, like he's falling.
I think that's how they filmed it.
Whoa.
I assume that's how they did film it. Is he just ran into a wall and then just got back up, because he gets it back up like, instantly.
Absolutely, that had to have been it. They were like, okay, we're gonna have you fall through the roof, and then Brian Bosworth, like you play football, you know how to, ram a hard surface, let's have you do one of those. And so then they just had him be like, okay, and then he goes, whoa, and it's like, good enough, you survived.
Out of something no one should have been able to survive. Yeah,
they didn't even show him getting up. They just showed him he was in there, blasts everybody. It's like, okay.
Yep, and it's also where shit just starts going down, because the escape plan was the helicopter, but like Stone says, haha, it's me, and then Shane just like says, oh fuck it, everyone for himself.
Yeah,
literally.
Like, he's the worst cult leader ever, because to him everybody's expendable. That's what makes him such a crazy villain. He just uses everyone and then lets them all fend for themselves whenever big bad scary Brian Bosworth comes around the corner. So which, to be fair, Brian Bosworth is pretty big and scary and bad, so I guess he has a point letting everybody fend for themselves, but still, although there was one interesting moment though in the midst of bullets and bloodshed. There was that one moment where his fanboy comes back.
That was
cool.
where because there was just this one guy saying, we got hostages, don't make us,
he's like putting the gun to the lady's head, and like some random lady with a dress, and it's like, oh, we're in a shooter. And the other, the redheaded dude who likes Brian Bosworth was in the room, but you can tell, you can say what happens.
And then Brian Bosworth sneaks up, looks around the corner because he's yelling out, so he's giving, and then his fanboy looks at him, smiles, and then you see that the other dude actually saw him as well, and just blasts his fanboy. But
before he does, he's like, he warns him. He like warns him that somebody was coming or something, and then he gets and then Brian Bosworth turns around, and is like, oh, and just shoots them. It's like, oh, okay.
And that's the scene that was the cool one, with the guy falling out onto the car hardcore. that was a good shot.
That was one of the best stunts in the movie, definitely. Although Lance Henriksen gets to do some physical stuff toward the end, where Brian Bosworth beats him up a little bit, throws him down some stairs. It's pretty funny.
I think there was that ragdoll scene too at the end. I'm pretty sure it was a ragdoll.
Yeah.
Whereas, because his part, they're arresting him, but he tries to make one last move, grabs a cop's gun, but his partner just pops him, and he falls over another ledge.
Yeah, dies. The last loose end. They fail to arrest him, and so then John Stone, Brian Bosworth walks away into the sunset, sort of.
Mhm.
And by sunset, more like just a mob of people with microphones saying, what do you have to say for yourself?
Oh, and he does drive a motorcycle into the helicopter as well.
Oh yeah, that happens somewhere.
That does
there too.
happen.
Oh, I love it. Gets to
Yeah.
blow up another helicopter somewhere in the midst of all the explosions. God,
Yeah.
what a great movie.
Yeah, it was so much fun.
Yeah, I love this. I'd watch this one again any day, probably.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good one to put on.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like, probably would be pretty fun to watch with friends, I would imagine. I'm not surprised the Red Letter Media fellas watched it. So.
A lot of people. I think that's why it's probably not available on streaming. I think they are probably making a release of it somehow.
Yeah.
Because I know How Did This Get Made did it as well.
Mm,
And that's
that
I think where I got the idea from was from them. Yeah.
Yeah. Whoever owned the rights, they're like, oh no, this movie's starting to get popular. We gotta take it away.
Yeah.
What about you, Zach? Had you seen this movie before or anything?
I hadn't. I'd seen the Red Letter Media episode, but
Cool.
yeah, it was pretty fun.
Yeah. Nice. And you watched it on YouTube, you said?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Is that how you watched it, or did you have a physical copy?
No, I watched it on YouTube. I'll probably buy it now, but
I think I must have watched it on YouTube. I don't own it, unfortunately. I wish I did, but
It's always interesting, just as a side note, to see boobs on YouTube.
oh yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. There were a number of nude breasts in this movie. I forgot.
At least in one scene, there was a bunch of them. That
Yeah.
that strip scene, yeah.
At least
Couple of topless girls.
There was the strip scene, and then there were just some random shit naked ladies hanging out on the compound too.
Right, there was one just naked, not even naked. She had just a leather vest on with huge boobs playing pool.
Yeah, like she hits the pool ball and then she starts like shaking her boobs for no reason. It's like, oh my god.
You gotta love it.
Yeah, it's very shameless.
Mhm.
But yeah, no. So I don't know. Do you have any other thoughts, Zach? Like anything that sticks out or?
not really. I wasn't expecting it to be good.
Right.
But yeah, it was really fun. I gave it a 3.5.
Nice. Yeah, that's probably about what I'd give it, like 3, 4. Maybe I'd say I'm closer to a 4 than a 3. Actually, I really enjoyed this. I not just because of how silly it is, but also I actually enjoy its atmosphere. Just something about the bikers and the craziness. It just, I don't know. It just hit a spot.
Mm-hmm. Same with me. Like, while I was expecting something different, like, sillier, goofier, campier.
Yeah.
But it was just still fun, hilarious, but also pretty well done in general. There's some really cool shots and action sequences and characters and all of that. So I'd probably give it a 4 because of it undercut my expectations, but also subverted them or something. I don't even know. It's like different, but still good. I was like, shit, okay. All right,
Like,
I'll give it a 4.
it's over the top, but not too over the top that it's dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the movie is probably about 80% action scenes, but the action scenes actually had like there was something to them though. Like there was actually like structure to them, and they were well written in my opinion. Like I really enjoyed that little moment at the end where like Brian Bosworth like runs into that the fella from earlier in the movie who ends up warning him about the henchmen. And I also thought
Yeah.
the whole thing on the air, like the helicopter, was cool. The motorcycle chase scenes were cool. The scene with the exploding gas station was kind of dumb, but it looked cool. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was probably like the only action scene in the movie that was like a little too mindless. The rest of it was mindless, but in a clever, fun way, I guess. Not just like lowbrow, dumb, like, oh god, eye rolling, like some Seagal movies are like that. Just where I just can't even watch them. They're so awful. But this was awesome. This was my cup of tea.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So we have now talked about. So we talked about a bad Texas Chainsaw Massacre comedy movie. We watched a biker, like a demented biker action movie. So now, Zach, what do you have that can top those two? What is your movie?
I got Split Second.
All right, excellent.
And
Sounds exquisite.
yeah, thought it was going to be more sci-fi than it was, but still kind of sci-fi.
Yeah. And what compelled you to choose it? Just out of curiosity. Like,
Had Rutger Hauer in it, pretty much.
yeah, pretty
They-
much any of his movies, like you could choose for the show almost. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, the cover on the Blu-ray looked interesting, so I grabbed
Yeah.
it. And we don't do too many science fiction movies, so I was hoping for something like that took place in space or something, but because the fucking creature was on the cover, I was like, oh, alien.
yeah.
Nope.
I honestly had no idea that it was gonna do that. Like still like halfway through the movie, I was wondering if it was like I had no like supernatural at all. I just thought the whole science fiction he was because it took place in 2008.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I would say though that this movie, as far as the setting goes, even though it did keep the set pieces to a minimum, I thought the set pieces were pretty cool. Like, I liked that police station seat, like set with it was like hallways of cages almost. It's like a caged police station. Like, that just seems so interesting to me. And there were a few like things here and there that kind of reminded me of Blade Runner, and like maybe a little bit cheaper, but certain aspects and qualities, and maybe the essence of Blade Runner, at least to a certain degree. So
yeah, the sets did stick out to me too. I was like, huh, they don't make these anymore.
yeah.
Just a couple of little bits and pieces in front of a green screen now.
Yeah, pretty much. Like, I would watch this over any Asylum movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll read the Wikipedia.
Yeah, sounds good. All right.
It's a shorter plot summary, but
Yeah, it's not too complicated a plot, I don't think. It gets complicated, but it doesn't start off complicated.
yeah. All right. In the year 2008, very futuristic,
Mhm.
I laughed at that. Yeah, I was like, oh, it's one of these ones. Okay.
Yeah.
Global warming and heavy rainfall has left large areas of London flooded, which, all the sets were actually flooded, which was
Like,
cool to see.
all the indoors they were walking through water pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like most of the places they went into, they'd crawl up a ladder or something to get to. It seemed like.
Oh, I loved it. I loved it so much. I love wet environments, is what I've realized. I think that's why I love the movie Stalker so much. Like, and why like James Cameron may have been inspired a little bit by like the watery environments. Like, I just find wet, drippy places to be comforting. I don't know why.
Rookie police officer Dick Durkin is assigned to partner with Harley Stone, another cop named Stone.
Right? Yeah.
Yep. And also, yeah, the forced partnership. It's like right there. And the fact that the main character is the lunatic. So, like, those are three things right there that this movie has in common with Stone
Yeah.
Cold.
Should have been a sequel.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
That'd have been great.
Split second, Stone Cold. Yeah, we got to find another one like this, like these.
Oh, I'm sure there's plenty throughout the 90s.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Harley Stone, a burnt out and highly cynical veteran homicide detective who, according to his commanding officer, survives on anxiety, coffee, and chocolate, which you'd see constantly throughout the movie.
Yeah, basically, he's constantly having intakes of caffeine and eating pastries. Like, that's what he's doing in every other scene.
Yeah.
You know, and every other every other scene also features a line of dialogue where he says, "I need coffee."
Yeah.
And there was that funny one where he in his house he has just like there was those chocolates in a heart-shaped form stuck to his
Oh, yeah.
fridge, just like melted onto his fridge, and the girl just takes one and eats it.
It was a pretty gross looking fridge too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it really was.
And I was also wondering, like, what the fuck is this? Is these drug-laced chocolates? But I don't think they were. He was just a chocolate lover,
Yeah.
Yeah, or like a meal of the future. I thought
right?
at some point. But
They didn't
yeah.
say that, so I just assumed that's chocolate, I guess.
yeah,
He's a caffeine guy. He needs uppers. He needs just a constant intake of, yeah. But then he's also super paranoid and anxious, like you say. So, like, there's that aspect of it too. He's just a total misfit.
yeah.
Although there's a reason why, which you do find out.
Yeah. He survives on anxiety, coffee, and chocolate after being able to prevent the death of his partner, Foster, by a serial killer 3 years previously. Now the murders have begun again, and Stone is obsessed with the case. An Oxford-educated psychologist, Durkin, is ordered to stick with Stone at all times and report any unstable behavior.
Dick Durkin.
Yeah. And he's one of those straight-laced, uptight type folks who, you know, likes to go by the book and doesn't want to like push any buttons or anything like that. At the beginning, when they first meet, he's sort of struggling to follow and like follow or keep up with what's going on with the main character here, which is understandable because I like you almost, the viewer wouldn't be able to keep up with him if not for the fact that like you see him have like these trauma hallucination dream things where like he remembers his partner getting taken while like walking around in this watery place. He gets dragged under by this killer. That's all we know at this point, although we also know that he believes the killer isn't human. So
yeah, I was unsure too because in that exposition of his partner being killed, they also said that he slept with his wife as well. So like my first guess was, oh, is the killer actually his partner that isn't actually dead? He's just coming back to get revenge on him. But no.
Yeah, that would be a crazy backstory.
Yeah.
I mean, the fact that he was already sleeping with his partner's wife already was a crazy backstory in the first place. So, but,
yeah.
although the way they told that though was interesting. But anyway, go on.
Yeah, they told that just like in a 2-second dialogue of just some cops talking to each other.
Yeah, I appreciated that.
There was the first scene of him going to that club also gave me supernatural vibes because that first death was a girl that got her heart ripped out, and he was like hearing heartbeats and shit. Like, so I was, is this gonna be a vampire movie?
Yeah, I wasn't sure. Like the opening scene, I didn't know. I knew nothing about this movie. I didn't even know it exactly. I knew it was science fiction, and that's it.
Yeah, I didn't know it was a
But
monster movie at all. Yeah.
yeah, but at the beginning though, when that happened, like yeah, like she like is in the bathroom and he's nearby, and he knows that it's gonna happen here somewhere or whatever. And then it happens, he finds her heart's gone. I'm thinking, my first thought is, uh-oh, is this another movie about a cult? And then my second thought is, oh wait, vampire. That makes perfect sense. But nope, it turned out to be something even crazier.
After investigating the scenes of several killings, they appear no closer in identifying the killer, although Stone seems to have some sort of psychic connection with him. Their only clues are that the murders seem to be linked with the lunar cycle, and that the killer takes an organ from each victim, apparently to eat them.
Yeah.
Yep.
The killer
And
is
at this
also
po-
fast. So.
Yeah, and at this point, when they were talking about the lunar cycle, I was like, "Oh, okay, werewolf?" Question mark.
Yeah. I was kind of thinking, okay, maybe this is also like a Zodiac killer type of thing, but then I couldn't figure out how this killer was able to get in and out so fast, like seemingly in places where there's almost no way to get in. So
Yeah.
They didn't really even still explain that though, as far as I can tell, unless I missed it.
though, well, they explained it really briefly with the flashback to his friend, where and that's kind of where the title of the movie came from too, a little bit.
That's
like,
what I was actually going to ask. What is split second?
that was it, because like he was like, at one point Rutger Hauer was mumbling something, and he was like, oh, it was happened so fast, it happened in a split second or something like that. He didn't say it exactly like that, but I remember he said something along those lines. I think it was like narrated, maybe even. And I'm like, oh, okay, it's called split second because these killers, it's like he shows up in a split second and is gone in a split second. He's gone in a split second. It's like it's kind of an obscure title.
Yeah.
But
I didn't get that at all. That was going to be my question to you guys: is why is it called split second?
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
Yeah, good enough for me. Like I bought it. Rutger Hauer, something about him, he's just so magical to me. I can believe anything that he does or did. R.I.P. I should say. But yeah, this was another enjoyable Rutger Hauer performance where he got to act ape shit. Like, that's the best kind of Rutger Hauer. So
Yep.
Anyway.
A lab analysis of blood left during one encounter shows that the killer possesses multiple recombinant DNA strands, somehow having absorbed the DNA of its victims. Complicating matters is the return of Michelle, Foster's wife, who Stone had an affair with.
Yep, and during that, they also said they had it has rat DNA in it as well. And then I was like, oh, not werewolf, were-rat?
Yeah, there we go. That would have been cool.
Because rats were throughout the movie. Like there's that one scene where Rutger Hauer shoots like a rat off his partner's shoulder in the very beginning. He's like, oh, I hate rats.
Yeah. Oh, Graveyard Shift. That's another movie I want to choose for this show sometime. That has killer rat. Yeah, it's cool. It's fun. It's really dumb, but it's fun.
While attempting to figure out the killer's motives and pattern, Stone and Durkin begin to bond as Durkin loosens up and starts to understand Stone. Durkin hypothesizes that the killer is taunting Stone personally, following him and then killing someone at each location. The killer then attacks a woman in Stone's apartment building, afterwards kidnapping Michelle while the two detectives are downstairs.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I did want to touch on his whole apartment too. So I thought at first he lived in a garage, like a straight up garage, because that's just what it looked like. And then he had, and he also like fucking, his name is Harley. He had Harley Davidson in his apartment. He had Harley Davidson signs all around us. I was like, what the fuck is this guy? Who? And it was led, and then you see like when he's like, going after that, then that scene you just said, he lived multiple stairs up. Like it was at least a, because he was going up, and I saw 13, 14, and he was still going up. So he had motorcycles in his 14 plus apartment story.
Yeah.
Like, why do you have motorcycles in a 14-story apartment building?
That was hilarious. Yeah, but that's kind of what I mean about the set pieces, is they're just so strange.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I kind of felt that way too. Like my first thought was garage apartment. This looked scummy. So
and it progressively, I think, looked better too as it went on. Like, I don't know if she was doing some cleaning maintenance while, because she just kind of chilled at his apartment through the movie.
Yeah.
And it just got a little, at least, more visible to see how it was laid out instead of just a clusterfuck.
Yeah. Definitely.
They track the killer deep into the flooded tunnels of the London Underground subway system and discover the truth. The killer is not human. It's actually a large, horrific, and possibly demonic creature that is fast, savage, and bloodthirsty.
So yeah, all right, it's a demon. That's ultimately what it is. It's eating people's hearts. There's a whole series of progressions in the movie where, I mean, once they actually encounter it for the first time, or encounter the victim, like the one of the other victims for the first time, like, yeah, the partner does end up basically doing a big switch and pretty much becoming more like the Rutger Hauer character, and in some ways crazier, actually.
Yeah, I like that a lot.
That was cool. Yeah, that was really well done, and the actor did a great job. Very intense, and also, like, again, the set pieces really added a lot, just because it felt like as the film went on, some of them felt more confined. And then the last scene in the movie literally took place like underground, basically. So anyway.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. This was that movie, I believe, that because I saw in the credits that the final scene was directed by somebody completely different. They made a note of it on the whatchamacallit in the credits.
Okay. That's interesting. I wonder why. Maybe he got fired.
Or they just wanted a cool little end scene to it. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It was a pretty cool little end scene. It didn't feel like the rest of the movie. It felt like a giant action scene.
And it looked like a humanoid alien from Aliens,
Yeah, that's why I thought it was gonna be like in space and shit from the cover, because the creature's on the cover of the Blu-ray.
The cover I saw didn't have that. It just had Rutger Hauer in a blue background kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that was the same one I watched it on or whatever. Yeah, I think that's what I saw, so.
Yeah, I wish I didn't see the Blu-ray cover, because it would have been cool to be like, oh, what is this?
Yeah, that's a bummer. It's kind of spoiled it. Damn.
Yeah, big old spoiler right on the cover.
Yeah,
I hate when that happens.
Had no idea until like halfway, 80-60% way through. I was like, even still, like, I wasn't sure until Dick started losing his mind.
Yeah, and he became pretty conspiratorial, but his conspiracies actually ended up being like kind of pointing them in the right direction, actually. So
yeah, they said like he's like, this isn't satanic, it is Satan. Like they were saying that kind of shit.
Yeah, and like those little details are left ambiguous, but the possibility is there. And also like the whole idea of a flood, even though there's a scientific explanation given at the beginning of the movie that's perfectly reasonable, there is something kind of biblical about the world flooding too, you
It
know, and like
literally
the
said the
demonic
40 days thing too. 40 days of flooding after like a 40-day rain or something.
yeah,
The river, yeah. So
it just fit with the atmosphere, and like how like it was just this supernatural monstrous thing dealing with an economic scientific, like yeah, just kind of infiltrating the human race during an economic crisis. And yeah, I don't know, I just, that's a cool idea, and it's interesting how it's done on sort of in such a small scale, you know. I don't even know if that's necessarily what's behind the whole thing, but I love that concept though. So, and it's just funny to think of Rutger Hauer starring in a movie like that.
Yeah.
and it's funny that this was made early 90s, but it was talking about global warming and shit too.
Oh yeah, no, good. I mean, movies have been talking about global warming for a long time now. Movies have been prophesizing global warming. It's been prophesized a lot in a number of different ways, and but this
Mhm.
film, yeah, definitely took a very straightforward approach to the concept, like a very grounded approach to the concept.
Yep.
And
We
yeah,
still haven't done shit about it.
yeah, I know, and it's scary, you know. But that's what's so interesting about watching a movie like this is you get to sort of see these people deal with the consequences a little bit, you know. And some of these people are older, grumpier, crazy people. Like these people are probably going to be us, like in the future, more than likely. So, but I don't know. Gotta hang on and see. So anyway, so does it say what happens at the end?
Oh yeah, there's still a little bit more left.
Yeah. Okay.
Durkin figures out that Stone escaped from it 10 years ago and is now fixated upon killing. It is now sorry. It is now fixated upon killing Stone, just as it previously killed Foster. In fact, as the movie progresses, each killing and appearance of the monster is an attempt to lure Stone closer and closer. The massive chest wound that Stone sustained all those years ago is what created the psychic link between Stone and the creature.
So it's kind of like E.T., which is funny because it's about a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the girl gets bitten by it too, and she has a little bit of a connection to it as well.
Yeah.
And that's also how he's able to hear the heartbeats of the victims that the killer or the monster is going after, because
Yeah.
he can sense what they're going after, and he's like, oh.
And he tells like that girl, her name Michelle, I think. He's like, you can hear the heartbeats too, right? That's not your heartbeats. That's it. Just during the last sequence. So he does let her know that, yeah, you're not hearing your own heartbeats. You're hearing it because you're connected and shit.
Yeah.
But it also, like, I wonder why, because there was that scene where Dick gets also maimed with the demonic symbols on his chest. I guess he doesn't get connected to it. I wonder if like it used a knife maybe, or I don't know if it has to will itself into you.
I mean, that happened so late in the movie, it almost, well, actually, yeah, I don't know, that was bizarre. I'm not sure what that was all about, you know.
Yeah. So it's revealed that all the murders and everything was a map instead of like a
Yeah.
sign or an occult thing.
Right. I mean, that symbol kept on appearing, so maybe that was just their way of or the demon's way of like, heads up, like your time is coming type of thing, because that's what they did before or whatever. So maybe that's because I think, like, didn't it do it at the club, or not at the club, but at that place that they were investigating? I guess it was the club, but that was after.
No, it was a different one of the apartments of some just random guy.
Oh,
It was
okay.
it was on the ceiling. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like the Scorpio thing.
Yeah. That was interesting.
Finally learning where the creature makes its lair, Stone and Durkin head to the area, armed to the teeth and relying on Stone to find the monster just as it always finds him. They emerge into an abandoned underground train station to find Michelle suspended over the water as obvious bait, but Stone frees her anyway, prompting the creature to show up. During the fight, Durkin wounds the creature's chest, allowing Stone to pull the monster's heart out and kill it. However, as the three of them leave the station, bubbles of air are seen breaking the surface of the water, suggesting that there may be more than one monster.
So
Okay.
a couple moments here.
More
All
than
right.
one. I wasn't sure if it was. I guess I thought it might still be alive, but more than one.
The idea of there being more than one suggests that there could one day be a sequel. That's the first thing I wanted to say.
Yeah. Sequel bait for sure.
Yeah. The
Was it-
second thing I
Would
wanted
it
to
be
say,
called Split Third?
Oh God.
a third of a split second. Okay, that what you
Two
guys think of
splits,
that
2 seconds.
Yeah, split 2 seconds.
Split Second, the second.
Split second spelled with a 2,
Yeah.
and people just call it split second 2. What'd you guys think of the creature, when the monster appeared out of the water? That was nuts, wasn't it? What was
Yeah,
that?
it looked
thing?
all right.
I
Look,
was like,
yeah, it just looked like a humanoid alien, like xenomorph or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, it just threw me off. I was like, whoa, my God, that thing is weird looking. I don't know if it was computer or puppet or both. It looked weird.
Yeah. And they should have made it look more demonic than alien.
Yeah. I was thinking it would be more animalistic, still like were-rat. Like,
Yeah.
because it was
Yeah,
all
I mean-
about the year of the rat and stuff. That was like the code that it finally left. It was like, oh, it's 2008. It's the
Yeah.
year of the rat. So I thought, and he was talking to that dog and shit a bunch. So I thought there would be more, like animalistic nature to the beast. But
Yeah.
no,
Well,
it
I mean,
just looked like a fucking alien. Yeah.
you couldn't even get a good look. It was so dark. It was only on screen for about a second.
Yeah.
Not quite a split second, a literal second. But it was so blurry that it was like, it almost looks like an alien from Alien, but I don't know if it is because I don't see enough of it. Like, you only see like the top of its head, and that's it. So
Yeah. I mean, you do get a couple body shots, like frames of it. Yeah. You get a lot of claws. He had long ass claws.
yeah. Oh yeah, you get plenty of claws. You even get the cool subway bit there where it's going through the ceiling.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. I mean, it would look kind of funny, but I still loved it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I loved Rutger Hauer's face in that scene too. Like his pupils looked so small in that one shot. I was like, what in the world? Like, you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
When the claw was like going over his head, just took his glasses off.
Yeah. I was like, okay, this is just too much. And then when he ate the heart, it was pretty.
Or shot the heart out, you mean?
Or shot, and that's what he did. He didn't eat it. What am I talking about?
I was surprised. Yeah, I was surprised that he took it. I missed where he got injured in the chest, and I was like, did he just punch straight through his chest?
Yeah, he busted through, ripped its heart out, put the gun to it, and
shot it out of his hand too.
Yeah.
I would be like,
he said something.
You're not worried about because these guns he was using were high powered, like hand cannons. I would have like put it, I don't know, on a rock and shot it from a distance. But no, he shot it straight out of his hand. Not worried about blowing his own hand up.
It's pretty dangerous. Yeah, he was willing to risk blowing off his own hand just to kill the demon's heart. So that tells you how much of a warrior of God he is. Yeah. This is basically the 90s version of Legion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, sorta, in a way. I mean,
There's a demon, I guess. That's what it's
Yeah.
supposed to be. And and
all right.
speaking of,
I mean,
well, also speaking of high firepower weapons, fucking Dick gets shot with a shotgun out a window and survives.
Yeah.
yeah, that was awesome.
Like, I wonder, I was like my first initial thought was, okay, yes, bulletproof vest, which was what initially saved him, of course. But hey, he still got shot out of a window
Yeah.
and lived. And but these weapons were supposedly real high powered, and that was a
Yeah.
shotgun too. I was like, how the you just got saved plot armor for you. It's just straight up
Yeah.
plot armor.
Yeah. But maybe they will answer that question in the sequel. Like maybe, I mean, you did get some bubbles on the surface at the end there. Like the question mark is still up in the air. So it's probably not going to happen because I don't think more people are requesting for a sequel to The Last Starfighter than this. So that should tell you something. But still, one can dream, but I don't think we'll get a sequel to this. Probably won't get a sequel to Leviathan, but anyway, so anybody have any more thoughts?
I just liked how Dick went crazy. Like, there's like that one scene where he was just like on edge. He was like giving him coffee and also just shoving chocolate in his mouth too.
Yeah, that was great. And when he's rolling on the floor and screaming, made me wonder if these folks ever, like, if the people who, like, if he or the person who directed it or somebody saw like one of those weird European movies from the 70s, or like an Ingmar Bergman movie, or Possession from the 80s or something like that. One of those movies that has weird human behavior in it, and decided to cast Rutger Hauer in it for a joke. Yeah. It's pretty fun though. I mean, honestly, I quite enjoyed it a lot. I dug the shit out of this movie.
Yeah, it was an interesting one for sure.
Yeah.
I gave it a 3.
Yeah. What about you, Nick?
I'll give it a 3.5, I guess.
All right.
Yeah.
I think I loved it enough. I'd give it a solid 4, maybe even a 5. I don't know. Out of the 3 movies that we watched on this episode, I think this one's my favorite of the 3. It's just the one I got most entranced by for some reason. I don't know. I'm split. I'm split between 4 and 5. I think maybe 4. I'm comfortable at 4.
Nice.
Yeah. Good choice.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Cool. Yeah. All right. So now we're gonna do some more 90s movies. First of all, our episode's over. The end. Sorry, folks. That's all. But we are gonna choose some 90s movies to talk about. So, anybody want to go first? So, I'm a little tentative to choose mine, but I'm gonna choose it anyway.
Oh, one thing I want to say is I did find it on Split Second. Like, one of the titles did say Subway Train and additional sequences directed by Ian Sharp. So,
okay. All right, Ian Sharp. That's cool.
That's why it felt that last subway scene felt way different.
The subway scenes were great though. I mean,
yeah.
All right.
But anyway, yeah, on to our choices.
Yeah, on to our choices. All right. So yeah, does anybody want to say theirs first, or should I just say mine?
There is one I want. There's one I want, but it's only on YouTube.
Okay.
But I also want just maybe another one.
Okay.
But the one on YouTube's been up since 2015, so who knows if they're gonna ever take it down. So we might be safe to choose it.
Oh yeah. Oh, what is it? Or
should I do this one or the other one though? You go first, and then
Oh, okay.
I'll make a decision. Yeah.
All right. Okay. I'll go first. I was hesitant. I can't believe I'm
Or
gonna
either
say
of you.
one.
Yeah. I just yeah.
All right. Should I go first?
Yeah, you can go first.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna choose Meteor Man from 1993.
Okay. I've heard of that one. I don't think I've ever seen it.
It was the first superhero movie I ever watched. The first one I've ever seen. So
That actually might change my choice. Then I don't know.
Oh, okay. Why was that one you were thinking about choosing?
Not that one, but it is a superhero movie, kind of. Apparently, I guess.
Interesting. All right.
I believe. Let me see what the.
What about you, Zach? What are you thinking?
I'm half tempted to pick Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 now, but
So that we can get a load of Viggo Mortensen.
yeah, but I think I'll choose something else.
Okay. We could do that one individually if you want. If you ever want to. It's up to you.
Yeah, maybe
Because
we'll.
we did do that other Texas chain. That was Texas Chainsaw, right? That.
Oh yeah.
Netflix
Oh, from the Netflix Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah, you know what? Fuck it. Texas Chainsaw 3.
All right. Texas Chainsaw 3. Here we go. Here we go, folks. I haven't watched the second one for a long time either. I just realized.
Yeah, I haven't either.
That one might be fun to watch. Nick's gonna be watching them backwards.
Yeah, the only one I've seen was like the original and one of the other remakes.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, that's it.
God, okay.
All right. I'm ready.
I'll just do this one since I know it's streaming places other than YouTube. Or should I just do the other one?
Well, what is the other one? Just out of curiosity.
The one on YouTube?
Yeah.
Pocket Ninjas.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Ooh, all right. Well, that one might be interesting to do for a single episode. Also, as an
Have you seen it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on the bottom 100. So
Okay.
maybe
I think the other
be...
one you may have seen then too, because I believe it's also on the bottom 100.
Oh yeah.
Tank Girl.
Oh, that one might be fun to watch.
Have either of you seen that one?
I haven't.
I've seen it. I haven't seen it for a long time though. I remember really liking that one. I would be willing. I'd be into watching that one again, definitely.
Okay, because it is the only reason why it is I guess based on a comic book, but I don't know.
Yeah, let's do it. All right.
Tank Girl, it is then.
Okay, so Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 or Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. I'm sorry. What did I choose again? Oh, Meteor Man and Tank Girl. All right, this is going to be a cool episode, I think.
Let me just make sure. Okay, yeah, it is streaming. Texas Chainsaw.
Excellent. All right, and then if you guys ever are in the mood to do Pocket Ninjas like as its own episode, because I think we'd have a lot to say about that one.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, let me know. Holla at me.
Yeah.
Holla at me, boys. All right, cool. I guess that concludes this evening's episode of A Couple of Flicks. So we hope you enjoyed it. All right, have a good night. Stay warm.
Yeah, have a good one.
See ya.